Okay, we're on the air.
Good morning. Welcome to the third Laguna Hoods, now that works. I don't know where I live. Okay, must have spent, obviously I came from Brooklyn. So, okay, welcome to the third Laguna Woods mutual meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We have a quorum. Actually, every director is here, which is exciting. The media is present. I'm not going to be able to talk today. I'm going to have Bill do it. The media is present. And where is the, okay, so I skipped number 2. So now we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance with Director Frankel.
Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So now I'll get back to the agenda in order. I would like a motion for the approval of the agenda. Second? Okay, second, all right.
There's some typos in the agenda.
Okay, would you like to, is your mic on? Would you like to address those, please?
These are relatively minor, but I think we might as well clear them up now. The page number in the packet for the election schedule should be 11E. Also, on 13G, page 404, please change United to third. And 13G, page 104 is not labeled. And 13F, page 104, is also not labeled.
So, does everyone have that? So, is there any, so you have, your motion is that we correct the agenda with these.
Right,
all right,
accept the agenda with these
these
corrections.
minor corrections?
Yes.
Minor or major?
Minor.
Okay. Yes, Steve?
Okay.
No, Steve, I'm sorry, Bert, you'll be next.
On item 13A, the Architectural Control and Standards Committee, it was an outcome of that be sent back to M&C. And 13B was sent back to staff to bring forward at the next meeting. So I would recommend, unless we want to talk about it here, that those be removed at this time.
So, okay, so let's go back. So
13A and B.
13A and B, you want them removed from the agenda?
Second that.
We're not seconding yet.
Yeah.
We're still in
We're still
the,
in the process.
okay, Inez, Bert,
Yeah, 13F, even though this was postponed for 30 days, the amount of money that is being appropriated really is far less than what the staff is authorized to spend in addition, okay? In other words, that was a $10,000 expense. Staff is authorized to spend, I think, what, 25 without coming back for approval. So we really don't have to discuss that.
well, the thing is could we leave it on, because we had questions about that. So we shouldn't be discussing it now, because we're only going over the agenda.
Okay, the other thing is 14C, the report that is in the agenda packet was from February, not March. I ran the meeting in March, and I will make the presentation, not Director Frankel.
Okay, so, all right, so we have all of these corrections. The only one I would appreciate if you would not take F off, if we could leave that on. Okay, so wait, we still have hands up. Yes, Bill?
Yeah, number 12C, I was informed this morning by Director Parsons that that Brad Hudson may have some additional information on that, but since we made changes to the original bid, to go back out to bid. I don't know whether we want to leave it here or do we want to move it into the closed session for discussion. If it's
So
a
you're
contractual
asking
issue.
to remove it to closed?
I am, if it's a contract issue.
Okay, all right,
So people understand, we decided that the Shepherd's Crook wasn't going to be high enough on some of the 3-foot walls over by Carlotta and Ridge Root. And so we've gone back to the original, to the bidders to see what it's going to cost us to raise that Shepherd's Crook by another foot,
okay.
okay?
So, all right, so Cheryl, should we recap all of these changes? I guess
So-
because that we could vote on them?
I can recap it for you.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
So 13A and B, we're going to remove and send it back to M&C. 13F, we're going to keep on the agenda.
Okay,
And 12C, we're going to move that to closed.
Okay, one correction. 13B is just sent back to staff to come back to the next ACSC meeting, not to MC. 13A was to come back to M&C. B was to come back to the ACSC.
Okay.
and ACSC, and just in case people don't know what that is architectural,
Standards and controls.
good, okay. What number is that now? All right, does this reflect all of the changes we asked for?
So it's 13A, B, 12C. We're not going to discuss. at
Correct.
this
Was there
meeting.
anything else? All right, so we have a motion to make these corrections. So do we have a second? Yes? Yes, who? It was Susie did, actually, Susie, even before we were done. So all those in favor of the amended agenda? Okay. Glad we lived through that. Okay. The approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion for that?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Are we approving February 20th, or are we approving them all?
One by one.
One by one? All right, February 20th. You so move. We have a second? Okay, Roy, all those in favor? Okay, motion for February 23rd, which was our strategic planning meeting.
So moved.
Second, thank you, Roy. All those in favor? And the March 6th meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Bert. Yes, Susie. Okay, all those in favor? All right, okay. So, thank you all very much. The report of the chair, well, I see construction trucks around everywhere, like I'm going and I see them, so it's good to see that we're moving along. I had just one thing I wanted to address, which I thought was very important. Those of you, a number of you might have read on the cover of the weekly paper that United is introducing a handyman project. And you might say, oh, but what about Third? So I wanted to report on that. We think that this community is, we don't think, this community is really very large. And we discussed this handyman project with Brad in detail. And we felt that at this time, it would be unwise to introduce a program such as this to the entire community, because it was like, we're not testing it at United, but we want to go slowly, because we believed in discussion with our board that the undue burden on our resident services department might be tremendous. So we are not saying at all on Third that we are not interested in the program. I know that our general manager has promised us, after beating on his door every day for 2 months, that we're going to have have chargeable services, which we promised that we were going to reintroduce to the members, so at least we could start there. So I don't want anyone to think that we're remiss in trying to take care of you. We just didn't want there to be mass confusion, and we discussed this at length with Brad. So, and United has had, and plus the services that you get at Third and United are different, because you get different things when you have a condo versus a co-op. So that was our decision. So more will be coming, but we will get that chargeable services list out very soon. Right, Brad? Okay. Oh, wait, I'll run up and look for it now. Okay, so that is all that I have. So now it is time to have the open forum, which allows for the residents to, not the residents, the members. So in order to come up, you must be a member. To come up, you should have filled out a card and given it to Cheryl. And there's a maximum time limit of 3 minutes, and there's a timer. And we don't answer your questions when you first come up. We generally wait till everyone has gone, and then the appropriate board member will try their best to answer you, or someone, oh, look, they're all fighting over the cards now, or the appropriate board staff member will get back to you, okay? So I'm going to say now, ready, get, set, go. Okay.
Our first speaker is Lynn Jarrett.
Okay. Good morning, Lynn.
Good morning. Good morning to everybody. Lynn Jarrett, 40101C. I have a few issues here, but first of all, I want to thank all the board members who came out to the GVA meeting last week. Our last two GVA meetings, we've had about 100 people in attendance.
Wow.
They've grown, and the room gets full, and there are no chairs. And the chairs are very difficult to sit in, because Bert was complaining to me a couple of times, rightfully so. And the mics are terrible in there. But anyway, we're living with it. But anyway, I appreciate you board members come out. I really do. And Bruce Hartley gave a really good talk on landscaping. And we had been wanting to get somebody out from landscaping for a long time. So it was very well received. James Tung followed on that about water, which was wonderful. Bert talked about some of the different projects. And Bunny talked about the Breezeway project. So all in all, we had a really great meeting. Yesterday, we had a building captain workshop, and I usually have about 3 a year. But this time, I hadn't had one for about 5 or 6 months. I don't know the date, but I had one yesterday, and about 20 people came. And we had Steve Parsons to come from Third Board to talk about finances, because the people really don't understand where their assessments go. And he was very well received, and Steve, thank you so much. It's the first time that we brought a board member into the building captain workshop. It just went over really, really well. I want to do that again. The other thing I want to talk about, last week in our building at 4010, 2 weeks ago, we had our mailbox broken into, our outgoing mailbox. We're not sure whether somebody really broke into it or the wear and tear, but it was only 4 years old. And I talked to Patrick McCleary, and he's not sure either whether it was broken into. But anyway, it's since been repaired. But what I need help in is communication. I brought this little picture of the Uniball, a package for the Uniball. I'm give it to you, Bert, Mom. If people would use Uniball pens for check writing, and those checks get stolen, they're not going to be able to be whitewashed and changed. We had this happen in a building, I think, 3 or 4 years ago on Punta Alta, where a mailbox was broken into on a weekend, and several of the checks got changed. What I'd like to see is, however, if you could help me communicate to the 53 buildings who have mail rooms to please use the Uniball pen. You can buy one for a couple dollars. Uniball. And the other thing is to not use the mailboxes on a Saturday night or a holiday night. Because it's less chance of us getting broken into. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Lynn. Would you give this to Bert, please?
Okay, our next speaker is Catherine Fleshley.
Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning. My purpose today is to announce to Third Mutual and all village residents that a seminar is being held on the Golden Rain Foundation Trust. The seminar is going to be held at Clubhouse 2, starting at 4 o'clock today. I know that might be tight for some of you guys, so I don't know with your closed session. There will be cookies and water available for the attendees. The seminar was created by Mary Stone, Maxine McIntosh, and myself. Our purpose is to inform and educate our residents about the principal governing document of this community. It is the GRF Trust that makes Laguna Woods Village unique from other homeowner association communities. It is our belief that all residents need to understand that uniqueness and its benefits and challenges in the management of our community. Again, I would like to invite all village residents to participate in the seminar in Clubhouse 2 in the Sequoia Room at 4 p.m. We will have a presentation starting with the creation of the trust, which originated in 1964, and bring it to its current status. There will be an opportunity for questions after the slide presentation, and I hope that many of the residents have an opportunity to come and participate. Because I personally believe that having an understanding of the founding documents for this community is critical to the overall management of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next.
Okay, our next speaker is Annette Watts.
She's going to be trouble.
These are handouts for all your board members. Thank you.
Good morning, Annette.
Good morning. I've been living here since 1991. I live at 4026 2G. I'm an owner. And I helped write some of the parking regulations with another individual for the board. But I'm here because of a gross ambiguity in the parking rules regulated by this board, which has been brazenly taken advantage of by a renter, Daryl Spencer, who's a single
Excuse me,
resident.
Annette, we do not mention here, you know the rule,
Okay.
we don't mention
No,
people's
I don't know the
names.
rule.
No, well, we, for years, we don't mention individuals' names, okay?
This individual lives at 40251E. He has 3 vehicles, 2 of which are continuously parked in the unauthorized guest parking on either side of our building, which is 4026, and seldom is moved. And surely the owner of the manor has the responsibility of the renter for this infraction. Anyway, the 3 vehicles listed are on your pass out, so I'm not going to go into that since I've taken already some of my time. By parking his vehicles in these unauthorized guest parking areas indefinitely since January the 29th, which never leave their spaces and are moved only 2 or 3 inches, maybe 3 or 6 inches every 7 days, this individual has demonstrated his ingenuity to avoid repercussions from security, but verified he can infringe on his neighbor's rights and privileges without consequences. Caregivers, visitors, and guests have no choice to park there. As you know, parking in our community is at a premium. Prior to January 2018, his covered vehicles were parked in the unauthorized guest parking spaces at either end of another building, 4025, in which security gave him a warning citation for never moving his vehicles. Obviously, his neighbors called security because they did not appreciate the abuse of abusing the system. Since January, I have contacted Mr. Brad Hudson, VMS manager, security, and VMS compliance. All have done nothing about this flagrant abuse because there are no provisions in your parking regulations for these vehicles to be completely moved out of their spaces for a day at least, not just moved back and forth. So I feel, and everybody in my neighborhood.
Your time is going to be up, so.
Okay. I feel that instead of paying for storage, private storage for his unique vehicles, he has made a bundle of money himself. And there are California DMV regulations.
Okay,
regarding
thank
this.
you.
Okay?
We'll get back to you when
All right,
it's
thank
time.
you. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Cheryl, is there anyone else?
Yes, our next speaker is Susan Smallwood.
Good morning, Susan.
Good morning. I've been a resident for 8 years at 3033N. I recently, at my age, remarried to the most lovely man, Tim Cooper.
On Valentine's Day, I
On
heard.
Oh. And we just purchased a new home. It's an Andalus model at 3456B. And it just now came to our attention of this new variance that if you would like to do an addition to your property, now has to go to your building department for review and acceptance. Then it then goes to you, the board, for review and acceptance. But then we're required to obtain 67% of our sub-association, 67% of a yes vote. And you as board members know how hard it is to get appointed as a board member when only 37% will send in their ballot. We paid, due to a bidding war, $755,000. We intend to put in $300,000 to $350,000 to make this our home. And we are just absolutely devastated that we can't move forward because it'll take a 90-day process in addition to a $1,000 ballot that we would need to pay for. In order just to get to the building department, we have to supply an architect plan with measurements that will cost us anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. How do you expect homeowners to continue to improve upon this wonderful village that we have by stunting the growth when so many others in this village have had this opportunity to obtain a variance? I wonder how many of you on this board have been the recipient of a variance. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Our very apt director will respond to the person who handles that area. Okay, is there anyone else?
Yes, our next
Oh, sorry.
speaker is Tim Cooper.
Hello, folks, I'm the married guy. I haven't met any of you really, and I've never done anything like this before. I did talk to Steve, he was very helpful, and I have talked to Bill, and he has told me that there's a meeting on Monday that I should probably go to, but in just really, really brief summary, very brief, we bought this property, and it's an Andalus, and it has a footprint, and there are two other models. There's the Brio, and there's an El Prado. Has the exact same footprint. They have a different common area. And what we want to do is have the same footprint as these other two units that were built a couple years later. When we went through the process of trying to buy this property, we talked to realtors, and we said, well, this is what's important to us. We told them, and they said, well, here, look at this house. We looked at this house, and we went through a lot of different houses. And they said, well, here's an example of what you want to do here, and it's been completed. It's really beautiful. Here's another example, another example. So we went through all these examples, and they showed what we wanted to do. And we said, great, we'll buy this piece of property. And I said, and then we got, kind of a feeling from our realtor that something could be kind of crazy. And then, so I went down to the building department, and I said, well, we want to do this. And they said, everything is great. I've been a builder for 30 years, and so I know what the process is. And they said, well, if you do this, this, and this, everything will be fine with the building department. But you should go talk to a guy named Rod Winston. And so I called Rod, and I left a message and said, I've got 5 days in escrow closes.
You have 15 seconds.
Okay, I've got 5 days before escrow closes. I need to talk to you, please. I never got a call back. I called again, never got a call back. Okay? Escrow closed. I've had the property 12 days. This morning I called my realtor and I said, how much money am I going to lose to sell this? And they said, 50 grand.
It never reset.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you very
So now
much.
I got 3 minutes.
No, I don't think so.
Anyway, so that's the situation, and
All right, thank
it's
you.
nasty.
Our next speaker is Jack Conley.
Good morning, Madam President, directors.
Good morning, Jack.
We moved here about 2 years ago from Chicago, and I want to tell you a bit about the story before we made the move. We spent 3 years looking at retirement communities. We started in upper state New York, Chicago, our hometown, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Oakland, San Francisco, Santa Rosa, San Diego, and so on and so forth. I had been treasurer of our HOA in Chicago for about 20 years, so had some familiarity with how boards work, how budgets are constructed, and how management proceeds. Of all the places we looked at, hands down, Laguna Woods Village had the depth, had the experience, and had a situation of incremental improvements, which we didn't find in most other places. We're very happy to be here, and as a former treasurer on a board for many years, first, you have my condolences. And secondly, I just want to tell you that this kind of feedback I wished I got when I was on the board. That's all I have to say.
Wow.
Too bad, Jack, because we were going to run upstairs and get an application and hand it to you. So Dennis is in the back. He's going to make sure that you don't leave the room. And no, but thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else? Okay. So now I would ask the directors to respond. And Bill, of course, he knows that. Could you respond to,
To Tim and Susan?
yes?
Tim, you didn't give your address, but I assume you and Susan are a couple. Oh, okay.
Well, they're married.
Yes, right. You just got married on the 14th. Okay. And we're talking about the same Andalus. Okay, good, okay. Yeah.
We will stay married even though we're having this problem.
Oh,
Good. Last June, 9 months ago, we have a new lawyer. We were getting legal challenges regarding the fact that this mutual was allowing people to use common area to expand their footprint of their manors, not the original footprint. And our new lawyer came to us and said, basically, the Davis-Sterling Act that governs HOAs in the state of California says you cannot give away common area without a 67% vote of the people who live in your mutual. Now, we have an interesting thing here, and I don't know how much I can want to delve into educating the community, both watching on television and here, but back in the, Brad, was it the late 50s, early 60s? Third Mutual was combined, or the 80s, it was late 80s, right? Late 80s. Third Mutual was formed out of a combination of something like 59 small mutuals. This has created issues for us. We're still working through those, and our lawyer, one of the things that we're trying to do with our lawyer is to see if we can't reduce the 67%, 67.5%, but that's a long-term situation that has to go through. You'll be really old folks by the time the state legislature gets through some of that. Come to the meeting on the 26th, that's Monday morning, and we'll talk about it in more depth when staff is there, and we can see what your drawings are and what you're trying to do, and see if we can't figure out something this side of going to a vote of folks in your particular mutual, which is third. The meeting starts at 9:30? Yeah, I think it starts at 9:30. Most of them, many of them do. It'll be upstairs on the second floor in the Cypress room, Sycamore room.
Sycamore?
Sycamore room.
It is 9:30.
Yeah, 9:30. And in the meantime, this week, I'll go talk to the alteration department people, and we'll see what you've got, and we can discuss it more depth. Hopefully, that's not too much information for you. Thank you.
I just want to make a comment. We try very hard to educate the realtors, that are selling our property. And I just feel bad when I hear that a realtor is guiding the buyers to letting them know that, yes, we can do this and do that and improve. I know that that has been the way of the past. But we ran into so many legal problems because of it, because maybe your neighbor doesn't like what you're doing, and then it comes into lawsuits. So we decided, the board, based upon legal advice, just like Bill had said, that we cannot give away common area. That's basically giving you property that you're not paying for, and that common area is owned by all of the third residents. Common area, it's like any kind of condo, you have a percentage, of property. So it's owned by other people. It's not owned by third or anybody else. It's the people that actually live there. So it's important, and Brad, he has meetings with the realtors all the time to let them know that they need to advise prospective buyers that the board has to approve any variance, and that unless it's with the footprint, they're not approving variances anymore.
I understand.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add that because we're on TV, and I wanted to let other people know too.
Okay, thank you, Bunny. And the thing is Third is not alone in this. United also has had the same situation. And although we know one is co-ops and one is condos, it's still common area. And they have had to have the same situation where you can't just give the land away. Bert, what would you like to address? And then it's not be
I
the
think
common area.
Bill's recommendation to come before the committee is good. There are Andaluzas where there's a lot of basically exclusive common area where people have expanded. I'm not sure. I mean, there are some that do not have the front patio area enclosed, and they're stuck. But there are those where the front patio area and the area between the garage and the home, I mean, that's exclusive. And you could build out into that area without any difficulty whatsoever. It's just a matter of going to common area. Anytime you're going to move into common area, that's not going to be allowed.
Okay, thank you, Bert. I would like to respond to Annette Watts. As far as the parking goes, we really, and as far as violations of the rules, Bert Baum has really tried to work with residents and compliance, and so have Steve, in the sense of if we find out that somebody has violating any of the rules, we go to compliance and they're brought in. And in the case of a renter, the owner would be brought in. And if there are problems with the parking rules, because Third doesn't have their own, so to speak, parking rules, basically the security rules are very similar within the community. If you have any recommendations, you should always come to the parking committee, which is a GRF committee, and give your recommendations. But if you have called compliance or security and nothing has happened, then you should then advise. Steve actually runs all of the hearings, so you could advise Steve or Bert, but we will definitely follow up on this issue. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you for listening.
And thank you very much, Len, for your comments. And I have been advised that you keep asking about communication and that our new head of communication is going to be coming to the next Garden Villa Association meeting. So we see how much we listen to you. And as far as the meeting that Catherine spoke about, this is not a meeting that was put together by GRF nor any of the boards. It has been organized by former board members who have a lot of experience in the area. So, but it's not an official board meeting, but if you want to go, we're going to try to go, but unfortunately it was scheduled the day of our board meeting. So we're going to try to support it or understand what goes on. Yes, Bert?
Yeah, just wanted to ask Catherine, are you going to video this presentation? And if so, perhaps it can be arranged that it can be shown on Channel 6.
Well. Okay.
But, is there a but to that?
Yes, yeah. Okay, well, we don't have a dialogue usually with the audience, so go ahead, Bill. Yes?
No, I just want to say also that we do have our lawyers looking at the trust because we know that the trust is going to end here within the next 6 to 7 years, and something is going to have to be done. So
Yeah, well-
the lawyers from all the boards are very aware of this issue, and they're communicating with each other. So there is movement in that area. This is not something that snuck up
ignoring
on us. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes, Bert.
I just want to add one point, and that I'm sure you know this, but to the people out there, if you see parking violations, you can certainly call compliance. You can call them anonymously. The number is 949-268-CALL. And if you're still having problems, then you should let Brad know or a board member. And if it's a gross kind of issue, we will try to resolve it.
Okay, thank you very much, Bert. So, all right, so we have now responded to the open forum, so it is time to welcome our VMS Director, Dennis O'Connor, to the microphone. Good morning, Dennis.
I have my glasses on so I don't screw up too much.
And you look very elegant today
I
and
always look-
distinguished.
I always feel. I like my job. It's a part-time thing. I get to know all about what's happening all over this place. You suggest that I attend lots of meetings, and I do, and I learn more and more as I go along. And I don't have the headaches that you have. So I know what's going on. I'm involved, but I'm sort of a step away. It's a lot easier than my job is a lot easier than yours because we live in a curious place. There's no place quite like it. It's not only the GRF setup, but this is a large city in which people buy units. They put thousands, or tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands into fixing them up. They fix up the interiors. But the exteriors, the frame of the house, they say leave that to somebody else, and they don't pay much attention to it. Well, as you know, under PCM, the structures of these houses, the way they were built, and all of these kinds of things were neglected. So today we have dry rot, we have, what else? We have pipes that don't flow, we have termites, we have improper painting that has taken place. We have lots of things that are different. I mean, the insides look great, but the outside's really not that great. This board, and the United Board as well, I think, have taken it upon themselves to rectify this situation, or try to rectify it by gradually repairing the buildings and getting them back up to snuff. The way they do that is they contract with VMS, it's a corporation of which I am a board member, and they contract with you to do the work. Incidentally, you basically own VMS, but that's too complicated to go into today. So you contract with us to do this work, and that's the role of VMS. We either do it ourselves, or we have outside contractors do it, and we supervise that particular work. And there's a lot of work. People do not understand it. Today, I had a moment this morning to look at the Village Breeze, where Bert had a little thing about a project they're doing. But actually, you have 30 projects, maintenance and constructions projects going on. I mean, that's a big job. That's a big job for you, and it's a big job for VMS and its contractors. Now, anybody can see those projects, incidentally. If you go on a website and you look under the Third Mutual, it takes a little bit of patience to get there. And then you look under Project Lodge, you can see what's there, the projects that are going on. It's just not replacing water heaters. I mean, it's doing dry rot, painting, prior to paint, plumbing. I mean, all of these things are being done. And they don't get done automatically. The way the homeowner deals with this, they buy their home, they fix it up, and then they delegate 11 retirees, most of whom are kind of old. Can't say that either. I wasn't going to mention your name, but I thought, what am I doing here? But you see, all of this is going on. We're making the village better. You're making the village better, really. But how does it happen? How are we able to do so much more than PCM did and still keep the assessments relatively flat? I don't know, but I know the last year PCM was the same budget as the year following PCM, and the year following that was the same as the last year of PCM, and we had a small increase this year. How much, Bert? 1.4% over 3 years. I read a letter to the editor in the village paper, and guys, you think that you were, I mean, inflation has been 1 or 2% over 3 years, 1.4%. But how does Village Management Service do this? First, we have professional management. Go to one of Bill's meetings. I say architectural committee because I can't remember all the stuff that goes after it. Architectural controls, standards, and controls. Never mind. That committee, people come in with elaborate plans to do things, usually on the same footprint, I might add, but they, the patio, for example, is, I think, their use, and they can do something on the patio area and things of that nature. And the support they receive in that committee is remarkable. Pictures from the sky. I don't know how they must run a drone over the top of it. It's pretty spectacular. Pretty spectacular job that you can see firsthand. But all of our managers now, except the general manager, are professionals.
Thank you.
Many of them are engineers or people who run our security department, experienced law enforcement people. The people running our recreation department are experienced recreation department people. And they get more out of the workers. So we're able to do this because we get more. Better management. We've never had management like that here before. And the second thing is technology. Brad, managed to attract, is he around? No. A guy that just works day and night, is a master of multitasking. And he's revolutionizing what's happening in the village and enabling us to do things at lower cost. He has currently at least 18 projects underway, and probably more than that, because I noticed in his list they didn't include the gates. I mean, these things are not easy to do in here, because we inherited an antiquated network. We have 2 decent computers. But we imagined, when first thing when the VMS came into being, we said we want to change this fact that we have thousands of phone calls not returned, thousands of tickets in construction and maintenance that have not been filled. And all of us thought it was a great idea to have these devices to do that. Well, it doesn't work out that way because the device is only the fancy part of the operation. You got to have the device and the message someplace. So you have to reorganize your whole computer system. Tim has done this. He's going to continue to do wonderful things. We're finally, 2 years after we tried, we're starting to introduce a project where we have, hand-carried things. They come to your house, they sign in, and they do that. You know when the worker comes, when the worker leaves, what he used, and what problems he had. And it automatically generates a closed thing. Remarkable. I thought it was easy, but I'm a techno retard. He has other things, like we're putting things in the vehicles, the security vehicles, so you know where those vehicles are all the time. Not under the tree where somebody's sleeping. You can track your vehicles, get more, all the while getting more out of your people. And that's the genius of Brad Hudson, if he has any genius. It is. I can't help it. But the VMS is entering a new era in technology. We're just at the cusp of a new time. Big things are going to happen. Big things are going to happen. We have a lot of computer capacity ready to do these things, I think. I keep hearing that our computers are no good, but somehow we keep on using them. Maybe someday we're going to have to do something about that. That issue hasn't arisen. But we do a lot. You do a lot. You have 30 projects going right now, big ones. And we accommodate that in some unusual ways. People complain. You don't get everything right, but it's getting done, and it's getting done for the betterment of the village. Very curious thing, this place. There's no place like it. I have also been in many homeowners associations. I've been president of it, but never have we had anything like that. Being on a homeowners association is no preparation to be in village management services. I mean, there may be other things. But anyhow, it's a challenging job. We're happy that you give us the leeway to do the job the way we think it can be done. And it's getting done.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Okay. And thank you for all of your hard work, and thank you for attending our meetings. We see you there all the time, and we feel very happy with that.
Notice that I sit in the back?
Yeah, well, if you could, you were a former professor, and you should know that from the front, you go right, look into the back, so that's why we see you. So in any case, at this point, it is time to turn it over to our CEO. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Madam President, honorable members of the board, members of the community. It's certainly my pleasure to be here today, and I'll lead off with rain. And apparently, there's a lot of it coming, if predictions are to be believed. And so I just wanted to make sure that if you see something out there that looks like it needs some attention before, say, Wednesday night, any clogged drains or debris in gutters, anything like that, please let us know. I have all our guys out there. That's the #1 priority for the next couple of days, is getting ready for a potential big storm. We also have sandbags deployed throughout the community, and if you feel like you need that, usually there's very predictable places these are needed, and so if you need sandbags, please call resident services. If it's after hours, call security dispatch, and we will bring them to you and deploy them on your behalf at your direction. So please give us a call and let us help the village get prepared. Yes.
One of the things that's happened, I don't know if a lot of people, you walk around, but the rain has caused a lot of weeds that grow between the cracks. They're like everywhere. And I know you have so much to do, but it's like...
Well, I can tell you the best way to get rid of those, but most people won't like it. So, yeah, we'll get on those.
Well, no, I mean, we need the rain, so I just look at them and I feel like bending down and ripping them out,
yes.
but, you know,
The
okay.
best way really is pre-emergent, and then, which is probably only marginally better than Roundup, as far as toxicity goes. So, we try to, and we've made a big effort to use less and less
Right.
chemicals, and actually, I've mostly ended the practice of chemical trimming.
Right, yeah.
And we're back to using the string trimmers in lieu of chemical trimming, and I think it's a much better option for our community. I did want to thank you, Madam President, for participating in our formerly known as community manager, but now I think we're renaming that to assistant general manager position. We did interviews a week or so ago, and we have identified a really wonderful candidate. We're about through with background and all that, and I suspect this person will be starting in a couple weeks. And I happen to know, I knew a couple of the candidates, surprisingly, either by reputation or through prior work exposure. But this lady here makes Chuck look like a laggard. No, you're going to be pretty surprised. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's going to be a toe-to-toe. I can't wait to witness some of this. So I'm very excited, and I anticipate probably introducing her on Village Television probably next week or so. And so we look forward to that. Dennis mentioned tech, and it really has been a pretty big journey. It's been a little slower than we thought, but as he said, things were pretty antiquated, and so replacing all the, the switches and the routers and the this and the that in the entire organization, rewiring everything, we really have done a remarkable amount of initiatives, and this year is going to be the tech year. Just the things that are just coming out right now. We have a whole new transit scheduling system. So basically what happens now, if say plan a ride, if you want to make an arrangement for a ride, you call a day in advance, and your name's put on a sheet of paper. When the driver gets here, we give them the sheet and say, go pick these people up. And if somebody calls who's right on those routes, we've got no way of rerouting that guy. And so that person has to wait, or we have to send a special vehicle out. It's horribly inefficient. And so we've just implemented a new Uber-like transit scheduling, and so in real time, as soon as somebody calls, boom, we put them in the system. The driver has a screen in front of him that tells them where to go, and if somebody new calls and wants a ride, it reroutes them automatically. And so it is incredibly efficient. We are well on the way of ending the empty bus problem that we've had here for so long, and is so inefficient and irritates so many residents. And so we're really happy to bring that. This also, though we haven't unveiled this yet, and I don't know when we will, we'll have to go to committee on this, but it also has a mobile application as well, so residents could just go on their smartphone, order up a ride, and it'll just tell them, well, we'll be there in 10 minutes, much like you would with an Uber. Or they can just call in, we'll enter them in the system, and they'll still tell them when they're going to be there. So totally different way of delivering on-demand transit services. We still have a lot of work to do on the fixed route transit, but I think we're making progress there as well. Our new bus was outside this morning. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see that. Susie saw it. And it has 8 seats and a room for wheelchair, total of 9. That's keeps it underneath the federal DOT requirements, so any special licensing or other requirements are not needed. And it's much cheaper to operate. Obviously, much cleaner than running a diesel vehicle around the community. And effectively, it's really a 6-person bus. It technically will hold 8, but it's really 6 in a wheelchair. So I think people are going to enjoy that. And again, much smaller, can get up in the cul-de-sacs where most of our riders are pretty infirm, and the larger diesel buses won't get up in some of these cul-de-sacs and pick them up at the doorstep. This will. So it's better for the riders, more efficient, and so hopefully put downward pressure on assessments as well. I'll just blow through these real quick. We just implemented a new fleet management. That's a little bit different than the transit scheduling software. The fleet management basically takes into account all maintenance logs, staffing allocations, all that sort of thing, and kind of lets you know when to get rid of vehicles, when to buy new ones, when to schedule certain kinds of service, training that's required by certain mechanics. It just covers everything to do with fleet management. And it's always been done, in a yellow sticky, on the window, change the oil. And we're not doing it that way anymore. So this is a modern, high-tech fleet management instrument that is going to be very helpful for us. We've already saved a boatload of money in fleet, and we're just going to save a bunch more. I talked about this before, our human resources information system. That's been implemented, and we're adding more modules every day. And this is the one that everybody wants, is the mobile work order entry system, which will allow us to track and monitor all requests. Again, same thing, if somebody calls and they want something fixed, we give one of these to a supervisor, and at the beginning of the day, he hands them out. And then they go off along their merry way, taking care of these paper work orders. Well, we're putting an end to that, and now they will have a device, and they will get their work from their supervisor as they're completed with the last job. And so it'll be very easy to track how long jobs take, what's an average for a job. The losing of the paper will end, and we'll have real-time data on how responsive we are to resident requests. So all that sort of stuff. And in addition, the supervisors, and this goes throughout the organization, spend most of their time shuffling this stuff around. They don't really watch anybody. They don't hold anybody accountable because they're doing this. And they're adding up timesheets and allocating to various mutuals. That is all being automated now, and so now supervisors are going to spend their time holding employees accountable, supervising the work, and not just shuffling paper around. It's a huge change. It's a sea change here, because we are a community of paper. I'd like us not to be a community of paper, but there is an evil force out there that resists that. The resident portal is just about ready to kick in, and that's going to have a lot of the sensitive information for residents only behind the portal, as well as an ability for credit card payments and other things, to buy services, to get tickets at Performing Arts Center, to pay a fine, whatever. The resident portal is going to be a powerful resident tool to get information and access to resident services. And then, and this was mentioned a little bit by Dennis, I think it's huge. And it goes back to exactly the same thing and we call these in the police world MDCs, but basically what it amounts to is a hardened computer in a police vehicle, or here, a security vehicle. What happens now is a security officer goes out on a call and gets some information, maybe 2 calls, and then they head back to the office and get a piece of this paper here and fill out a little report, and it's shuffled around and scanned someplace, and papers filed. And so this will put an end to that. You never want a mobile asset in law enforcement in an office. You always want them in the car. That's why you make their car into an office. Then they're always in the field. They're always where you want them, out there enforcing your rules. And so those are being installed right now. They will do the reports right there in their car after they take them, and then off to the next one. And so we're going to get, I think you're looking at probably a 30 or 40% boost in efficiency here by not having all those trips back and forth. And so also it allows the supervisors to review those reports in real time. And why they're in the field as well, and so to make corrections and to provide appropriate supervision. And then, of course, we're continuing. We're doing 3 or 4 different HVAC systems this year, all under the MS profile energy management system, and so that should produce some savings as well. And then lastly, is the what we're now terming the bandwidth improvement program, in order to do a lot of what we'd like to do, not only in terms of better internet speed, but also new exciting cable TV options for our residents, we need more bandwidth. We need more bandwidth for everything. And so the best way to get more bandwidth is to eliminate broadcasting in analog. Analog broadcasts use a lot of bandwidth, and so we're starting to delete a number of these channels. So if you have a TV that you cannot pick up and move across the room, that's probably an analog TV. And it's not going to work very well as the year goes on. You'll notice fewer and fewer channels you will have available. And so you may want to consider, my recommendation is don't get a device to make that work. Get rid of it and go buy, for $100, $125, you can get a really, really nice TV, which is probably about a year and a half of us charging you for a box to make it work. So it's a much better investment, high ROI, to get rid of the analog TV and to get a digital TV that gets a bunch of channels right out of the wall. I feel compelled to talk about, unfortunately, Pool 4, which is still closed. We've just, as we've been working on that, we pulled the plaster away. There was a lot of cracks and structural problems in the underlayment, and so that had a little delay. And then we got into the equipment room, and we've replaced a bunch of stuff in there, and so it's just taken a little longer than thought. But I hope in the next couple of weeks we'll have that wrapped up, and then we'll be going over. Clubhouse 4 is the most popular pool. You know, it's typically warmer. It has an easy access ramp and all that, and so hopefully that'll be done. And then we'll go to Pool 2 after that, where we're going to do a similar reconstruction, and then over to Pool 5 after that. So the hope is, you know, we'll do one at a time and get those cleaned up and get them back in structural and other integrity. I did just quickly wanted to praise the board for your trash chute work. To imagine that we hadn't cleaned those in 40 or 50 years, it seemed kind of silly. And then they've been cleaned. And now before you today is the repair piece of that, which is long overdue. And I applaud you for it. Seems it's not very glorious, but it is sort of because it needs to be done so bad.
You know, we need, we could still go to our trash rooms or even in our trash areas and say, oh, God, this really smells. And I think we need a better program with our trash company for them to replace the bins. They're supposed to switch them out. They're supposed to clean them. And I don't ever see that. I don't see that happening. And unfortunately, not everybody bags their trash the way they're supposed to. And it gets, so now we have clean chutes, so there's no odor coming from the chutes, but it's really bad. So I think that's something that Bruce just really has to follow up on.
I'll talk to Bruce about that.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be part of the service.
I know we're in some pretty deep negotiations with Waste Management too, primarily about, I don't know what the proper term is, I'll say illegal dumping, but apparently a lot of residents like to put microwaves, TVs, computers, couches, mattresses, and other things out in the common area. And Waste Management only comes by once a month. And so I really can't let that stuff sit there for a whole month until they decide to come by and pick it up. And so we formed our own crew of a couple of guys that come by, and they fill up a couple of giant semi-sized bins every week or two to get that stuff out. So we might alter that program to where they would pay us to do that for them, get rid of the third Saturday thing, because we think that encourages people to put stuff by the dumpster all the time, and do a more robust in-home pickup program.
So right now, if somebody, and we've all seen this, ignores the Saturday plan and they decide to put a chair or a lamp next to they put it next to the trash bin. So the trash company comes, moves the chair over, takes the trash bin out, puts it back, and sometimes they put the chair back, or sometimes the chair is sitting outside. So because people just aren't following the program. So if we were to see that, who do we call? Resident Services?
Oh, you call Resident Services.
And someone will pick it up. Because
Yeah.
I could see the same chair sometimes for weeks, or lamp, and it gets to be, a bit exhausting. So people should, so if you see something outside, something sitting outside of your trash area that shouldn't be there, you should just call the resident.
Just call resident services.
Okay.
One thing that we've learned about this is they tend to occur in the same places, in the same areas over and over and over again.
Yes, we know.
And usually Susie just calls them in, so it's not a big deal, you know? So if you want to just call Susie, that's fine too. And so, yeah, we're looking to make a pretty big change in that, which I know people get used to that third Saturday bit, but I think it is a bad program because it encourages.
You know, I don't think people get used to it because I see it's probably followed a tenth of the time.
Yes, yeah, I
I
agree.
mean, I think that, Lynn, you might agree with that. It's, you know, it's, the third Saturday happens to be like every day, you know. So, yeah, a change in that program would be wonderful. Yes, Bert?
I just, isn't the contract between Waste Management with the city?
Yes.
So how do we negotiate?
Well, I mean, it is kind of a three-party thing. I mean, we're a pretty big dog here with respect to waste in this city. I mean, we're like the dog. And so the city will pretty much go along with it. That contract has a lot of good things for us in terms of the enclosure cleaning and you got to enforce it. And the city doesn't really come in here and force it as well as we'd like. So we kind of take that on ourselves, and they work with us. It's a cooperative effort. This is a special community. There's a lot of features in that franchise agreement that are different than you would see in most city franchise agreements. They're just tailored for our residents.
Yes,
So-
James?
Yes, Brad, I have a question about you're talking about this sort of Whooper like a right request. How do you charge them? What's the limit? Do they go, say they want to go to, excuse me, airport? How do you charge for it?
Well, I mean, I think that's a policy matter. I think we'll still be limited to a relatively small geographic area, but I would certainly like to, well, the other thing is too, right now, on your demand response, you're mostly taking a big bus and transporting one person somewhere in it. Now that's obviously very inefficient. Now we've bought a couple of vans and we've bought a couple of smaller buses, and with this new technology, you won't see one person in those anymore. You'll see 2 or 3 or 4, because as people call, we'll reroute the bus on the fly or the vehicle, van, to pick more up. But we'll probably limit it, you know, to a similar area to what we have now. I mean, I'd like to see us go under the freeway over there. It's still relatively close, and there's a lot of interesting shopping over there and restaurants. But I think that would be about the extent of the expansion of the area that I would consider, because otherwise you're going to lose all your efficiency there by having vehicles out on the road too much.
Well, for example, if someone want to go to Irvine, is that considered to be too far?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
if we do make such a call, I guess we can ask, says, well, we want to go this. Is this allowed, or are you going to charge us?
Yeah, we just have a very limited service territory. I could see expanding it a bit, particularly if we're more efficient, but not. I don't think we'll get that much more efficient before we go to Irvine or even Aliso Viejo, which isn't that far. It's still pretty far for what we're doing.
Yeah, and we can't get
Yeah.
into a cash business or, I mean, that would be like,
Well, that's my biggest concern with the direction we're going, is that it's going to be so efficient and nice that more people are going to want to do it. And that is already happening. I know we're going to present some data. The fixed transit has been losing ridership for a decade now, from about 500,000 rides a year to about 200,000 rides last year. 60% decrease in ridership on fixed transit. But just over the last 6 months or so, we're seeing increased ridership on demand response. And I think that is going to increase dramatically, particularly with this new instrument that will allow people to efficiently be worked into the schedule without a big wait.
No, let Bill go, and
Okay.
then you can go.
So Brad, we have these board meetings at 9:30 in the morning. If I call this service at 9, rather than driving my car over here and parking it, could I be assured that I got here in time for the meeting at 9:30?
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Oh, Brett, I have one more question. If it's the right is nearby, within your guided range, is this the wheelchair ready? If
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes, we use, and sometimes just because we're a little short on the right-sized vehicle, a lot of this has to do with the grant assurances and buying those buses. We have to use them for a certain number of years, so we're phasing them out as quick as we can. But we have the 2 vans and the 2 small minibuses that we're using for demand response. And they work very, very well. But I don't know. See, maybe you would be okay, Bill, but it's hard to get a guaranteed ride. You got to call the day before. Now, that doesn't mean you can't call the day of, and because depending on all the routing that's involved, they work you right in. They could be there in 5 minutes.
I have a question. I've heard a number of residents say, we've eliminated the bus rides, but we have all of these free rides to the museum and this and that, and isn't that a waste of our money? And I could so what is happening? So I know that suddenly we started all of these free rides to calm the people down, but where are we going on that? Calm, when I say calm the people down, trying to be nice. So does that say?
Well,
so where are we going on that? Because to me, it seems absolutely goofy that we give free rides to the museums and stuff like that, and then the people who need rides weren't able to get them. So are we still wasting our money in that way?
Opinions vary on that matter.
I know, I was just merely speaking for the residents who I hear from.
Well, the residents that we take say it's the best thing that's happened in their
I know,
life
but-
for decades. And it's a very housebound kind of resident that we serve with that for the most part. And so do I think we need to do shopping trips in Aliso Viejo? Probably not. But certainly, and maybe it's more efficient if we just rent a big bus that will hold 60 people if we want to go to the Wiesenthal Center, or if we want to go to another museum. We can do that. And that's probably more efficient.
And where people pay.
That could be a part of it.
No, but a minimal, that it's not anything that we would do wouldn't be money-making.
Right.
But, just cover costs, yeah.
Yeah, because you're competing with the clubs, okay? Clubs do these trips, they rent the buses, then they charge. The other thing I wanted to comment on is that I would be willing to pay a flat rate, $200-300 a year, maybe even more, to have a pickup service like an Uber service available to me, because I can get rid of a car, which costs me a heck of a lot more.
Yeah.
Well-
But I think that's what we're going to have. I mean, I think
Well, but could we
we're very
put that
close.
on the list after the handyman thing? Because I think we're
Well,
getting
no,
over the top.
it might help solve our parking problem.
No, I actually think it will. I mean, right now, if say you live in Third and you want to take the bus to go over to Stater Brothers, my God, you're probably looking at a hour and a half round trip.
Yeah,
If you-
I was
if
going
you don't
to
shop
say
too
2
long.
hours, yeah.
If you don't shop too long. Whereas with the on-demand service, you'd probably be there in 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay,
It's quite
all
a bit different.
I hope this isn't a transportation question.
No,
Okay, good. All right, yes,
I
Bonnie.
want to go back to the rain.
Okay,
And I don't think the audience is aware of the storm drain. And I think Bert was on the board, you were on the board, and they had these horrible floods in Gate 5 and 6. And so the village has done quite a bit of work to.
well, no, and not the village, Third.
Third,
Third.
okay. Did Third completely pay for that storm drain?
I would say, I would say if you go into the 80s, 90s% range, that you
Yeah.
could,
So I don't expect to see the storms or the problems that we had in the past when I first moved in here. And the other thing is, if I recall, we do have a rain resolution that can be accessed, right, through the website as to what the board's, what management does during the rain?
There's
Yes.
an emergency rain plan.
Yeah, there's a
Yes.
whole plan,
Right.
and it's mainly executed by 936, which is your paving and concrete crews. And so they go out and gates need to be closed, gates need to be opened, the bridge needs to be blocked. I mean, there's all these things
Right.
that have to happen. And then probably the key to all this is not so much that sort of emergent work, that's obviously very important, it's just the day-to-day, making sure that all your drains and stuff are cleaned out and they function properly. So last, I know I'm taking too long, I did want to report, though, that all your programs and projects are moving along very nicely. I think Ernesto got out of the gate rather quickly this year, and so a lot of your waistline and copper piping programs, prior to paint, everything is moving along nicely, and residents should see quite a bit of activity out there. You mentioned our communications director, and so I've got her, and she's got so many things to do, but one of them that I really want to get to is using Code Red. So like every Monday, we can notify residents what's going on in their building, in their cul-de-sac, wherever. And so that is something that she's working on. So it's a powerful tool. It's basically free, as long as you don't use the robocall. If you just use Code Red and you send a text and an email, it's free. If you send a robocall, then they ring the bell on you and you pay big time. And so we try to stay away from that, except for if there was a fire or something. Or I know, if you remember the gentleman who had dementia that became lost a year or
Right,
so ago,
right.
we used a village-wide Code Red full blast voice, email, text, which was a little bit pricey, but it was an important issue. And so I hope to use that tool to communicate better on a weekly basis with residents on all these things that are potentially going to disrupt their daily routine in their building or in their cul-de-sac. So that's kind of the new frontier there as well, though there are many others.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Bill had one thing that he wanted to say, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah, Brad, I've been on this board for
Too
2
long.
years and 5 months. And you came on 2 months after I came on this board. And this community was in a big transition to self-management. And I want to compliment you. I want to compliment you for enabling this board to get work done by having and hiring people who are wonderful to work with, responsive, and they're actually going out and getting things done. And it's been a pleasure. And I think that anybody who gets to know you, gets to know your staff, has the utmost respect for what you guys are doing and under the pressure that you've been working. And I think this community is in good hands, and I hope going forward that you continue this. Even though some of us who are volunteers may leave the board, we're not going to be leaving the community, and we will be here rooting you on. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
He's really threatening you, Brad. Okay, so now we're up to the consent calendar. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Okay. I have something that I believe, and it's the election calendar, so that is E. There are some corrections that need to be made on the correction calendar, so I would like us to move, like once the date says October 4th, on another page it says October 5th, and it's unfortunate, we probably should have sat down with Cheryl and gone over this before we put it in. So I would request that we move that to, in a corrected form, to next month. Can we do that? So I would like to move that from the consent calendar to next month. So that is, I'm not supposed to make a motion, so I'm all looking at all of you and saying like, what do you make this motion?
I move that we move the calendar from the consent calendar.
Second?
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the consent calendar with moving the election schedule to next month because it has to be in a slightly corrected format. So all those in favor? Okay, so then the consent calendar is done, and Cheryl, we will look at this, Bert and I will look at it with you and get this done. Thank you very much. So, yes, Bonnie?
I just noticed that we didn't have the project log listed on here. Or did I not see it?
The project log is not usually on the board agenda.
On the,
On M&C.
It's on
on the
M&C.
consent
Well, we didn't get to
calendar?
M&C yet.
it was always on the consent calendar. But,
Okay. It's on M&C. Sometimes things vary a little bit, you know, where,
yes,
okay? So unfinished business. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to Bert Baum.
Thank you. We have several alteration resolutions. As I indicated, our alterations department has been running barefoot through all these resolutions and standards, trying to update them and simplify them. So we've been going through a series of these with each meeting, and we have some more today. And this one is on attics, soffits, and suspended ceilings. Whereas the Board of Directors of Third Laguna Hills Mutual Board established policies and procedures for the construction of any alterations, additions, and expansions, and whereas the Board, through Resolution 031777, adopted and implemented the Common Area Use Policy, which restricts the Board from granting use of common area for alterations, whereas the Davis-Sterling Common Interest Development Act defines the area above and outside the interior surface of a manor as common area, and staff receives numerous requests for alterations, including but not limited to removing suspended ceilings and soffits, which if done would encroach into this common area. Whereas the board has consulted with staff and legal counsel and determined that the act permits the granting of exclusive use of common area that is generally inaccessible and not of general use to the membership at large, and transfers the responsibility of maintenance and management to the owner. And whereas the board has determined that the area below the structural members and above suspended ceilings and soffits meets these requirements. Now, therefore, be it resolved, and this would be March 20th, 2018, that the Board of Directors hereby introduces the following resolution for establishment of the policy for alteration of soffits and suspended ceilings. Resolve further an alteration which removes suspended ceilings and soffits that does not negatively affect or encroach upon structural members or the structural soundness of the structures that meets the criteria set forth in the third architectural review procedures, may be approved by staff through the mutual consent process. Resolve further any such alteration, with the exception of alterations permitted by existing and future mutual standards, shall not include any alteration of the structural members or protrude into or affect any space above the lowest part of the structural members, and resolve further the area above the structural members or outside of the walls of a manor referred to as attics and crawl spaces are common area and may not be used for alterations without prior approval of the board. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation To carry out this resolution, I move.
Do we have a second? Roy, thank you. Any conversation on this? Yeah, Bert.
Down to that fourth whereas, with the statement about granting of exclusive use of common area that is generally inaccessible and not generally used, of general use by the membership at large. That applies to far more areas.
But we're just talking about this, Bert.
I
We're
know,
not
but it's still a
talking-
statement that applies to many, many other areas
And
within.
I'm sure we will be contacting legal counsel as these come up on the Architectural Control and Standards Committee. I think we're just going to have to wade through this as we get these
It's-
alteration requests.
I think
Any other comments?
opening
Or do you want to
Pandora.
continue?
No, I just think it's opening a Pandora box. That's my
Well,
comment.
I think the big difference here is it's within the structure. We're not going outside of the structure.
Then let's
And we're
make that
just
statement
removing
then.
a ceiling, or we're removing a false ceiling.
Yeah, I'm just
So
saying,
this
then-
is
then
a
let's make-
very, this is a very narrow,
Then add that to the statement, that it is within the structure, because there are many other things that this would apply to.
So in number
he
four.
can do that.
So number four, where it uses the word inaccessible, within the interior of the structure?
Yeah.
So where do you want to put that after is general inaccessible?
It's on the
Fourth.
fourth one down. And whereas the board has consulted with staff and legal counsel and determined that the act permits the granting of exclusive use of common area that is generally inaccessible within the interior of the structure
Okay.
and not of general use to the membership at large.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's a good point, Bert, because we're going to be, every time we come up with something on common area that,
Yep.
is, with the Davis Sterling Act, and you can go find possible exceptions. We'll be going to our lawyer for advice. Roy?
In that regard, the language in this particular paragraph looks like it's taken directly from Davis Sterling.
Right.
And to insert that particular phrase in the middle of what really should be in quotes, does that create any problems for us? I'm not opposed to this particular resolution focusing on the interior of the building, but in this particular case, we've changed the act.
Okay.
So we need to insert it somewhere else.
Well, then,
What
okay.
I suggest is we have our attorney review this.
Right,
And
that-
change in the
That was
language.
going to be my suggestion, that we take, we're going to see her this afternoon, and
Right.
to be in anticipation of some of these comments, I put this also on a closed meeting. So we're going to be talking about this subject, so. Okay, so all those in favor, well, we need a motion. The motion basically,
No,
we
we're
have to vote
just
on the, do we have to
discussing
vote
it.
the
It's
motion?
30 days. So we're not really going to vote on it.
Okay,
till
so we got to
30
wait
days.
30 days, right, okay.
Right.
Any other comments on this? Good, guys. I thought I'm glad you, good eyes looking at this. I looked at it 3 times. And it was just, didn't realize that they were lifting it out of the Davis Sterling.
Almost
Thanks, Roy.
verbatim. You're welcome.
Good, Bert. That was great. All right.
Well,
Bert?
actually, I have a question. For example, if I want to, for example, to put a attic fan in my attic, well, do I have to get a permit to do it?
We're not, we would have to discuss that at the architectural control meeting.
Okay.
Right, and, yeah, and probably with our lawyer. So, as I said, James, as these things come up in the Architectural Control and Standards Committee, we're going to have to bring them back to our lawyer for conversation on that and opinion. Okay, so we're through with that?
Yes, I
Okay,
hope so.
I'm going to turn this back over to you.
So we're only up to
We're
B?
12B.
Gosh, I thought that you'd be finished.
Yeah,
by
I
the
know,
time
you
I
didn't
got
stay away
back.
long enough.
I was out and dancing in the lobby. Okay, So unfinished business is trash chute repairs in the three-story buildings. So go,
Whereas on May 24th, 2017, staff was directed to pursue quotes for the cleaning of trash chutes in all three-story buildings. During the contractor inspection, many existing doors and chutes were found in need of major repair due to repeated usage and age. Additionally, during initial construction, some trash chute doors were not properly installed in the correct configuration and needed to be modified. Whereas on February 5th, 2018, the Maintenance and Construction Committee directed staff to bring back a recommendation for a contract award to repair the trash chutes as cleaning has now been completed. On February 13th, 2018, the cleaning of all 81 LH21 and Garden Villa style building trash chutes was completed. And whereas on March 5th, 2018, the Maintenance and Construction Committee voted unanimously to recommend the board approve the necessary trash chute repairs at all three-story buildings. Now, therefore be it resolved on March 20th, 2018, that the third board of directors hereby approves a supplemental appropriation in the amount not to exceed $336,680 from the unappropriated expenditures fund and award a contract to Terra Pacific Waste Management in the amount of $336,680 to repair trash chutes in all LH21 and Garden Villa buildings, and resolve further the price breakdown for the LH21 and Garden Villa buildings are based on the recommended improvements at each building. Each discharge room and trash chute will receive the specific repairs needed to meet the code standards, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move.
second? All those, before we get there, any comments? Okay, I think though it is, I got concerned when we cleaned them that nobody knew why we were cleaning them. And we were cleaning them because of the odor, the pest, vermin, et cetera, and 50 years. So we're fixing them now. You're voting to fix them because of the,
Cleanliness, because they're not going to get in there and you're going to have to be,
no,
50
no,
years
we're
worth of.
repairing them because
Oh, not the timing.
Because we're repairing them because the doors don't close properly,
That's it.
which
Yes.
means mice could run up this.
Oh, sure.
We running all over the buildings, or
There's a
rats.
multitude of problems.
I said mice. So I think that's an important thing. So the multitude of, because when we originally sent the letters to the residents, we said, their board has voted to clean these. And I said to Brad, why? You have to tell people why. So we're voting to spend the money, which we have in our reserves budget, because no, it's not to be cleanly. The thing is that they're broken, that the doors don't close, that it is causing pestilence.
And it's a hazard,
And it's a hazard.
and it's a
Right.
potential fire hazard.
And
And
we
it's-
we cleaned them so that people who
could
are
be-
repairing them wouldn't be in a hazardous
Right.
situation.
So
Okay.
it's all right, so possibly it's the doors don't close. All right, so I just think that that's important, that we're just not deciding to do it. Because Lynn comes to our meetings a lot, so we have to do something. So okay, so thank you. All right. So all those, so we talked about it, all those in favor? Okay, next.
Well, I think we're up to 13C, correct?
And we have removed it. this has been removed, so 13C has been removed.
13C, A and B, not
No,
C.
no, 12C has been removed.
Correct.
Right. Okay, I'm sorry. You
It's
jumped
okay.
in.
You'd already jumped
So
over
we already jumped, so now we're 13. A and B have removed. Okay, so you're up to 13C. Thank you, Bert.
Thank you.
Are you?
Whereas the Architectural Controls and Standards Committee endeavors to promote architectural and aesthetic consistency through the mutual, whereas the installation of various types of materials for balcony railing panels on balconies has led to an inconsistent aesthetics within the mutual, whereas during the Prior to Paint program, members are required to remove balcony railing panels to allow staff access to paint the railings. Upon completion of painting, members are permitted to replace the panels after painting. Whereas the Architectural Controls and Standards Committee recognizes the need to amend alteration standards and create new alteration standards as necessary, and whereas the Architectural Control and Standards Committee recognizes the need to revise Alteration Standards Section 19, balcony modesty paneling. Now, therefore be it resolved, March 20th, 2018, the Board of Directors introduces this resolution that shall only allow the installation of balcony railing panels per Alteration Standards Section 19. Resolve further, the Prior to Paint program requires members to remove balcony railing panels from the balcony so the painting crews can complete their work. Resolve further, when the member requests to replace the balcony railing panels, unless the existing paneling is metal, permanently attached to the railing and painted by staff in the paint program, they will be required to conform with Alteration Standard Section 19 to maintain uniformity throughout the community. Resolve further that the Board of Directors hereby introduces the following alteration standard, Section 19, balcony railing panels. 1, general requirements, see standard Section 1, general requirements. 2, applications. 2.1, all balcony railing panels shall be attached directly to the railing. No panels shall be attached to the building deck or flooring. 2.2, paneling height may be up to the top railing and extend no further than the bottom of the railing. Paneling shall not extend to the balcony deck. Paneling must cover the railing completely from side to side and shall not extend beyond any existing railing. All paneling, this is 2.3, shall be rigid and easily removable. 2.4, paneling shall be made of white vinyl lattice only as manufactured by Veranda or Dimensions. Existing attached metal panels that are painted to match the color of the wall to which the railing is attached may remain. Paneling, 2.5, paneling shall be attached to the inside portion of handrails. I so move.
Second. Any comments? Yes.
I would add to, under applications 2.1, all balcony railing panels shall be attached directly to the interior of the railings.
Well, there's another point that stresses that.
Where?
Further down.
Doesn't say anything about the interior or exterior. Can be either outside.
2.5, paneling shall be attached to the inside portion of handrails.
Yeah.
That's the last one I read.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Fine.
Any other comments? Any questions? I have a question. So could somebody just have it in the front and not on the sides? I mean, is it the, and I'm not sure. I mean, I know that you've
That's no
done a really good job with Kurt getting this done, but The reason why we're doing, why does the
He's
reason?
sitting right out
I know, he's sitting there. Well, I know what is the reason why we're doing this?
For privacy.
No, because it looks like a mess.
Oh, right
A mess
now,
out
yeah.
there. And everybody some people almost have rags on their balconies. So we're trying to have it look
Uniform and.
nicer.
And we're trying to bring it into 2018,
Right.
rather than being
So,
old and.
so we're not saying that you have to run and change it today, but we're saying as part of the painting program, and you have to remove it anyway, this is what you have to do. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Is that what we're saying? So Kurt, you're running up to the microphone. Did you want to say something?
I thought there was a pending question.
Well, I did ask a question because I wasn't sure. Could you put it just on the side?
You can put it just on the front.
Just on the front, okay, and not, all right. And say somebody, I'm just gonna be silly now, say somebody wants to put something out there because they have a dog, and they don't want their dog to jump down. How could they go to the bottom? They can't,
They can't.
they can't.
The committee decided that to try to avoid the hiding of clutter, et cetera.
Then that's really what you're doing. So that means don't leave an unattended dog who might sneak through there out on your balcony. Okay? So it's really because we were finding it to become dangerous because people were using this as clutter hiding, which can be for pests and fire.
You need to get a bigger dog.
I got a question for Kurt.
Yes, Bert.
Yeah, Kurt, you said it's only in the front. These are for privacy.
They can go on the sides.
Thank
but
you.
If it's on the front, it must cover the entire front.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like not just the part
But
where
they
you
can
have
go
your
on the
clutter.
side.
They can go on the side, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kurt. Thank you very much, Bert.
You're welcome.
And Bert. So we don't vote on this, right? It's on 30 days?
Right.
Okay.
So we're up to 13D. Another resolution on alterations. Whereas the Architectural Control and Standards Committee directed staff to create a policy pertaining to closets and interior partition walls for members who are proposing to repurpose or relocate a closet or partition wall within their manor. Now, therefore be it resolved, March 20th, 2018, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby introduces the following closets and partition walls policy, and resolve further, architectural drawings shall be provided for approval to the Alterations Division Office for review and to meet the intent of this policy for all non-load-bearing wall, partition wall revisions, including but not limited to closets or panel walls, prior to issuance of a mutual consent from the Alterations Department and before construction begins. And resolve further, staff shall thoroughly review the submitted drawings if staff determines that the proposed alteration does not affect load-bearing walls or alter the original purpose of the rooms, meets the intent of this policy, and conforms to all pertinent alteration policies, staff may issue a mutual consent. And resolve further, as staff determines that the proposed alteration does not meet the intent of this policy, and the member desires to pursue the proposed alteration, staff shall process the request as a variance for review by the Architectural Controls and Standards Committee, and resolve further, all proposals of load-bearing wall revisions will require board approval via the variance process, and resolve further, any proposed wall revision that would create a new room or change the use of a room will require board approval through the variance process, and resolve further that the offices and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move.
We don't vote on this, it's on 30 days.
Right, we just discussed.
Right, we can discuss it. Any discussion? We're not voting on it, it goes on to 30 days, then we vote on it. So why are we doing this, Bill?
I was sick with the flu when this was discussed at the last meeting, so I'm going to defer to Steve Parsons to answer your question.
Okay, I mean, the basic thing is that we have to be sure, and Kurt's sitting there, that we're just not a
Rubber stamp.
willy-nilly rule passer. So we're not changing any rule here.
We're simplifying
We're
it.
simplifying it.
And
We're
the-
making it easier. Is that correct?
Yes, the purpose of this is that you don't have to go through the variance process. You can just get a mutual consent. And this saves time for both the resident and for staff. Did I get that right, Kurt?
Yes, the thing is we get a lot of variance requests that are just slightly different than the approved standard, therefore requiring a variance when it's just a minor change to a standard. So this allows staff to approve those changes without having to go through the lengthy variance and expensive variance process.
So then this is a very pleasant correction that we're making.
Yes, this will
Okay,
make
good.
things much easier for.
All right, that's really is the goal. So, all right, thank you very much. We're glad you're here, Kurt.
So Kurt, so we can just say that all of these standard changes are to make life easier for residents who are asking for variations or?
Yes, that's why we're going through
Okay.
them all, to make the whole process.
Right.
simpler.
It's not just this one resolution, it's all the resolutions that we've been dealing with for the last, we've got what, 49 of them to get through?
54,
54, and how
Um,
many have we gotten through?
20.
20.
We got another 34 to go?
Yes, sir.
They're gonna,
But
I
you gotta
resign.
read, Bert.
thank you very much. All right, good.
John?
If I have a recommendation for a change in this, is it, should I bring it up now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, about the load-bearing walls, will require board approval. I'd like to see it will require structural engineering drawings and board approval.
Well, the board isn't going to approve them.
Structural engineer drawings are a requirement of the variance process.
Okay.
I mean, the board isn't going to approve the moving of a load-bearing wall. I mean, of all the things that we might try, even we, those of us who are not architecturally inclined would know that. Okay. All right, so we're now up to E.
Correct. Whereas the Board of Directors, the Board of Third Laguna Hills Mutual, held a meeting on March 20, 2018, at which a quorum of the board was present. Whereas pursuant to the mutual's governing documents, the association, acting through the board, is responsible for the management and upkeep of the mutual's common areas, including the landscaping and trees. Whereas the Third Mutual Landscape Committee recommended the establishment of a no tree topping policy for trees in Third Mutual with the following exceptions. 1, staff would be authorized to top a tree to treat or eliminate an insect or disease infestation. And 2, staff would be authorized to top a tree that has already been topped and is deemed to not be a candidate for restoration trimming. And 3, staff would be authorized to evaluate stands of trees in selected areas where view obstruction is an issue and selectively remove certain trees within the groupings to improve views and still preserve the overall look and intent of the group plantings. Now, therefore be it resolved, March 20th, 2018, that the Board of the Mutual hereby approves the no tree topping policy for the management of trees within the mutual's common areas. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this mutual are hereby authorized on behalf of the mutual to carry out this resolution. I move.
Okay, so, but we have to keep this on 30 days? 30 days. Okay. All right.
John has a comment.
Yes, John?
Item 3, it says staff would be authorized to evaluate stands of trees and where view obstructions is an issue and recommend removal. I'd like to see, and remove certain trees. I'd like to see the word recommend removal rather than just remove trees.
Well, it says selectively remove.
It says, staff would be selectively remove certain trees. I'd
Well,
like to see it say recommend, selectively recommend.
So then what happens? They cannot,
Then-
what you're saying is they can't act on their own? They would
Not
have
to
to
remove a
amend,
tree.
and then it goes to the committee?
Not to remove a tree for view
landscaping?
purposes on their own. I'd like to see the landscape committee be involved.
Well, the process
today.
Yeah, that's a good point, because that's been an issue with other residents who want
Okay.
trees removed.
So
for
this
view.
is on 30-day, but we're going to add that selectively recommend. Okay?
Okay, and recommend. Not selectively, and recommend selectively to, or you'd say
And recommend selected removal of certain. That
yeah.
sounds very intelligent.
Better get the wording right.
I minored in English,
Okay.
majored.
You and Roy should get
Business.
together and figure this out then.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so, all right, so that goes to 30 days, so we're okay.
Yes.
With that little minor correction.
Correct.
Got that, Cheryl? Okay. Excuse me, do you have that, Cheryl? Got that? Okay, so now on F, the fumigation program.
Right.
The unbudgeted expenditure. So,
You want me to read that?
okay, but the thing is, the reason why I said that we had to go back to this, because it was confusing, so the endorsement to the third board still talks about lodging.
10,000.
What?
It's still limited to 10,000.
It's still, but it's still talking about lodging services, and we asked to touch on the entire thing, not just the services, but the total amount.
Right.
And does it? So that is why I said we can't introduce a resolution for unbudgeted expenditures, because it has to be a complete understanding, not just talk about the lodging. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So can we, so therefore, I had suggested that we can postpone it for 30 days. We have to get it right the first time.
Yes. But this is an endorsement.
That's
Yeah, but
why
we're not going to endorse, we can't.
Okay, but it came out of M&C. That's
Right,
why.
that's
it's-
why I was saying, that it really is unnecessary.
It is,
No.
sorry, it is necessary. The endorsement for the lodging is a small amount. What the board asked for is how much is the entire thing versus what our budget is.
Right.
And I don't know if we ever got that answer.
It is less than 25, here again, I said that the staff has the authorization, okay, to do it or approve anything and go ahead if it's less than $25,000. And this is less than $25,000.
Because it has to do with the lodging. We're not talking about the lodging. We said, we had asked, and Steve helped me here, that we went from the amount that we had allocated for tenting, termite tenting, from the original amount to now we have to do 45 units. And we had an entire conversation about, are they 3-story buildings? Are they single-family houses, whatever? So could somebody just come back with the entire amount versus what's budgeted? And if it's within the entire amount for everything, including the tenting and the lodging.
Well, Here's the thing, is that the 2018 budget for lodging services due to fumigation is $62,900.
Right.
That's the
That's the
lodging.
lodging.
Just for the lodging. And
And
here
the-
we're saying, okay, that staff could spend, what, 25,000 on their own?
No,
We-
absolutely not.
Or is it what, 25?
10%.
10%, okay.
But we're not talking about the lodging, we're talking about the actual work. That
Total
was
program.
the total thing. And we never got that answer. Did you have the answer in a hidden place?
Nope.
All right, because we said, you know, Brad, you know what we're asking for. How does what we originally budgeted go compared to
You should have
what
that
we
figure.
have to do? We just have to say, does it need any approval or does it not? But to sit here and talk about like the lodging part doesn't, we wanted the whole thing.
Yeah, well, it looks like you've got 6 more buildings that are identified. Now, whether this reprioritization involves smaller buildings, so we don't need more money for that, I don't know the answer to that. I
Right.
suspect Ernesto does. But that's, would be my, and really a guess at this point, is that when you reorder based on priority, they don't need more money to do 6 more buildings because they're doing a different kind of building where there's a different priority. And where you always need the money is on the lodging. And so, but let me get that answered for you. This doesn't have to be done today. We've got enough money.
Can we have it done? I mean, we had asked for this at M&C.
Yeah, I'll bring it to your next meeting.
M&C or?
I can, either way,
M&C?
yes. Okay.
It could go to M&C Finance or somebody to get the entire picture.
Okay.
Because if you're spending so much more on lodging, because I know about what the rate is and I divide it, so it doesn't indicate to me that it's 5 single-family homes.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of people. So if we could get that amount, so we have to, I have a question mark next to it. So did we move, so we can have to move, can we move? So should we have, well, we don't need a motion, we're just asking to postpone it for more
Yeah,
information.
there's plenty of money remaining in this line item. We're only a couple of months into the year.
Yeah.
So we can get a more accurate count of the
Okay.
types and costs and
So
the
we're
potential
saying,
lodging.
you're right, so we're saying we're postponing this for
Yeah.
accuracy.
Yeah.
A lot of things can change between ginning up a proposed budget in the middle of the year for the following year. And now Ernesto has a better look at what's there.
Right.
So he can basically justify anything one way or the other.
When you only need one bed bug case to totally blow things out, as we've
But, and we're
discovered.
not, you know, and we will not ever, we told him already that we're never going to compromise the structural integrity of the buildings. We just want to know how much it is. Correct, Steve? All right. So we have decided doing that with F. We're postponing this for a month to get more accurate numbers. That's F. All right, G.
Okay. Whereas the mutual has historically reimbursed members for electricity consumption related to the restoration of manors as a result of moisture intrusion, as well as for excess electricity consumed due to hot water supply line leaks, and whereas the practice of reimbursing members for electricity uses has not been formally recorded as an explicit third mutual policy. Now, therefore be it resolved, March 20th, 2018, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts the revised electricity usage reimbursement policy in accordance with Resolution 031768, damage restoration policy as follows. For moisture intrusion events where dry down of property is required, the mutual will reimburse for electricity used at a flat rate of $32 for each room requiring the use of dry down equipment as verified by the moisture intrusion coordinator. For hot water leaks where excess electricity has been consumed, the mutual will reimburse for excess electricity consumption for a maximum period of 3 Southern California Edison billing periods as evidenced by detailed billing statements for each of the 3 periods involved. Additional electricity use beyond the period of 3 billing cycles is the responsibility of the member and is not reimbursable by the mutual. All reimbursements will be charged to the disaster fund. Resolve further that 031148, adopted April 19, 2011, is hereby superseded and canceled. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move.
I second.
So this doesn't have to go on 30 days? This is?
No.
No, this is it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I
can
just have
be-
I have a question. Go ahead, Bert. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, it can be effective today.
I got a
Will
cou-
be effective
I have a
today.
couple of questions, because
Okay.
I've been through this. I had a leak in my bathroom, in the wall, between the bathroom, the wall between the bathroom and the kitchen, which also then affected the outer hallway and ultimately a linen closet. Okay, now when you say rooms, what do we mean by rooms? Would the linen closet have been something that had to be dealt with as well? The other thing is, I don't know whether that leak was a cold water or a hot water. And to this day, I couldn't tell you whether it was the cold water or hot water. They came in and they cut out a piece of the piping and replaced it. So I think we need a better clarification here than what we've suddenly had here. You know, why hot water only?
I think the hot water refers to hot water boiler leaks. And I think if you read the,
Then I think we need to be more clear.
So say hot water tanks?
I believe
Is that
so.
what you're referring to?
Because, yeah, I think so, because I don't
A lot of hot water
understand.
tanks are in.
Out of water tank, yeah.
Yeah, but a hot water tank is the responsibility of the owner. What you're trying to cover here, is things that are the responsibility of Third Mutual.
Well,
That's, I mean, that's what Brad, where are we on
That's
this?
correct.
So I think, I could agree with you, Bert, I think that it needs a
I'm
little
just trying to
clarification.
understand this too, so.
Yeah.
It needs some clarification, very honestly.
I agree.
So, Brad?
So how long would a hot water have to be leaking to generate a
but the thing is-
tremendous amount?
Right.
Well, first of all, we're responsible up to 10 years. Or up
No,
to the, up
that,
to
but
the
we're
actually.
talking, that's a hot water tank.
Correct.
We're trying to talk about in-wall.
In-wall leaks.
I
That's what this
think
is.
it may be in wall,
So-
because if you
so-
read the last,
So Brad, can we have this clarified or written,
Sure.
stated better, or what should we do?
No, this is sort of my initiative here, because the old process is about the most inefficient thing I've witnessed around here. And so
agree.
I think sometimes when I say I want something, maybe they rush it through a little bit without
So are we going?
vetting it completely, and so
So the thing
let's send
is-
it back to committee, I'll put some more work on this, and
Well-
then bring it to your next meeting.
Okay.
There's no harm in that. I think it's a great change, introducing this efficiency into the system, and a lot of the heartache. I meet with so many residents who feel so tortured, and then when they finally get the check, it's like, $10. Like, oh, I had to provide all these,
Right, and they
this
had,
information,
and
and,
they spent,
it's
they spent
ridiculous.
$40 making copies.
Yes.
That's understood. So the thing
Yeah.
is, it needs clarification as to what is the source of the water, right? But
Yeah.
I think that Bert brings up a good point. It needs clarification because it says per room, but it could be a I don't know, a hallway closet that's impacted, and that's not a room. So, or the hallway, and which is not a room. So that needs it needs clarification as to the source of the leak and clarification as to
What's a
the-
room?
What's actually covered. So we're going to bring that back to our next meeting. Okay, well, we'll bring everything back. Then our next meeting will be like for 2 days. Okay, so, it's a joke. All right, so let's try for H.
Okay.
So James, no, it is not immediate.
Yeah, I had a question about room 2. So, well, the other way that we can is getting started, then we'll see how the resident responds.
Well-
Maybe that will give us the inspiration how to solve this uncertainty or
Yeah, but
make it more
I
clear.
think we could do it a little bit better the first time though.
All right. I'm anxious to get reimbursed.
Okay, now we're up to the next one, Bert.
The purpose of this document is to define the procedure of Third Laguna Hills Mutual regarding the treatment and control of rodents. The mutual shall continue to be responsible for controlling exterior pests inhabiting mutual control property, including termites, bees, wasps, and rodents. When a member resident contacts resident services due to possible rodent activity in their attic or around their manor, the following events will occur. Resident services will simultaneously create an IN 102 exterior rodent inspection, staff assignment, and a 4304 rodent problem reported service order. The pest management staff, WC 560, will place bait boxes around the manor. The bait boxes are left in place for 6 to 8 weeks in order to draw all rodents out of the attic or away from the manor. The pest management staff will notify grounds maintenance, WC 530, if there are any trees or shrubs too close to the structure that may be providing rodent access to buildings so that they may be trimmed or removed. The maintenance operation inspector, WC 910, will inspect the buildings for evidence of rodents and any possible access areas. A visual inspection of the attic will take place as necessary. If rodent activity is found, the maintenance operations inspector will create and schedule a service order for 912 carpentry to seal all open access areas around the building. The maintenance operation inspector will notify the roofing program coordinator in the projects department to have the roofing contractor seal all access areas on roof. The exterior of buildings are also inspected and sealed as necessary during the annual prior to paint program for the buildings scheduled on the paint program each year. Resident Services will open a 6872, 6872 bird animal in wall or 4315 dead animal reported service order when requested by residents. Animal carcasses found in the attic or walls are removed by the carpentry department. Animal carcasses found around the exterior of the building are removed by pest management.
Okay, so now that we have this resolution, what do we do with it?
Not a resolution.
Well, it-
Just a procedure.
So, well, it says on the agenda, resolution, so it's a procedure.
Yes.
So what do we have to do with it then?
Discuss.
Okay, so we don't have to have a motion? We're just
No,
going to
no, I'd like
review
to-
the, so it's a new procedure?
Yeah.
It's a
Or a
procedure-
corrected procedure?
This is a procedure that is directed at
Staff.
a function of staff.
Okay.
Is that
So all we're
correct?
doing is reviewing it?
Like an SOP.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I have, Mike, one question is, if they put a bait box out 6 to 8 weeks, do they attend to it at any time during those 6 to 8
Supposedly.
weeks?
Supposedly they do, but my experience is they don't.
And should they? That's a question that I've
I
got.
think they're supposed to.
Then shouldn't we
Should be
specify?
fine. Yeah.
Yes, Susie.
I'd like to thank Bert Baum for reading all these resolutions and keeping us interested in his creative way of reading. Thank you, Bert, very much. We appreciate it.
I think he went to public speaking school.
I was going to say sexy, but I didn't want to embarrass
No,
him.
that would be a sexist remark.
So Brad, is this under landscaping that would be doing this?
Well, it hits a couple of different work centers. The exterior bait box placement is under landscape.
Right.
Obviously, the roofing and carpentry is under a different work center.
Got it.
So there's some coordination there.
If you, is it recorded somewhere? Now you've got people with field devices that they recorded, they put these bait boxes in a certain location on a certain date. Does that go into a database somewhere that somebody can do extra?
I suspect not yet.
Okay, but you got, I know Arbor Pros for trees, and I'm sure Bruce would have comments on this, but it's also an inventory system. And I don't know if we've got other inventory systems in the community that Chuck works with or whatever. But if that can be, this is an inventory thing, I think.
Well, it's a
That if
work,
there's-
yeah, it's
Yeah, if you could put
tracing.
it, if you could put this stuff in, find a database for it.
Right.
Then you could do reports out of it.
My understanding was that there's different modules that you have to purchase to attach to that to make it function. So that could be investigated. My question was, a lady by Clubhouse 6, and this was last year, or earlier this year, had some bait boxes put out because she had big rats. And she took me over and showed me, and 3 weeks earlier, they replaced there. Everything was gone, the bait's gone. So if they don't check it until every 6 weeks, it's ineffective in some cases.
Yeah, I think that's just a matter of appropriate supervision, and I can handle that. I think that the procedures that are laid out here are sound, and it's the right thing to do. There's a lot of other things that are going on too. For example, in the Prior to Paint program now, we're sealing all the buildings as well. So there's, that kind of preventative work. This procedure here deals with more of a responsive approach after those other things didn't work on the preventative side. So I think we're just looking for you to say, yeah, that's a nice procedure. And if there's pieces of it like rebating the boxes more frequently, or that's just easy direction to staff to take care of that.
Well, Brad, I would say that from my experience and from other residents who've called me, is the gap seems to be between when they call in resident services and then what happens to those work orders. Do the various departments really get them? There seems to be some gap and some confusion. Maybe that's been straightened out now, but people call in, and often it depends on who answers that phone as to what kind of action and what kind of answer they get.
Yes.
So I hope that this thing is really working better now at this point.
Well, clearly, Bruce, assuming responsibility for this, has put some order and structure in place that I think is going to be an improvement over what we had previously.
Okay, so
One
now
other
we're,
comment? Okay. We talk in here about highway lanes for going from trees to roofs and things like that. How are we going to handle trimming back some of these trees before the scheduled time of tree trimming? Because there's a lot of them out there.
That's a big challenge. Obviously, having these two functions in the same department probably makes that a little bit easier. But anytime, particularly if you're talking about major tree trimming, unless you allocate more resources, whether you want to trim around streetlights annually or trim away from a manor, all that does is extend the trimming on the other side of it. So those are the kind of things we have to talk about. And I think we need to get a sense from Bruce, how many of these trimmings are going to be required in a year? Can it be done on the regular trim cycle where we just really pull back and try to get 3 years out of something? I don't know. We'll have to see. Rats are pretty agile, and they jump too.
Okay. All right, so now we have to go, I'm not trying to cut you short, but we have to move on. Now we're going to go to the committee report. So the first report is the Finance Committee. And Roy, pay attention because Steve said you're going to do it next month for him.
Sure.
So listen up.
Okay, slide 1, please. Total revenue for third through January 31st, 2018 was $2,883,000 compared to expenses of $2,122,000, resulting in more revenue than expense by $761,000. Next slide, please. Now we look at the same results with a distinction between operating and reserve funds. This chart shows how much of our reserve went into operations, with $1,574,000 coming in from assessments and $175,000 coming in from non-assessment revenue. This is compared to operating expenditures of $1,631,000. After backing out depreciation, which is not funded through operations, we can see the bottom line operating surplus of $130,000 as of the reporting period. Slide 3, please. This chart shows how much of our revenue went into our reserve funds and the amount expended to date. Next slide, please. Through January, Third Mutual was better than budgeted by $742,000, primarily due to the timing of invoices from outside services. First one being roof replacement budget was inadvertently distributed throughout the year, but the program is not scheduled to begin until September. Number 2, building structure replacement program will begin later than anticipated. And 3, the moisture intrusion program, the work is in progress. The invoices are pending at this time. Slide 5, please. On this pie chart, we show operating expenses to date of $1.6 million by category, showing that our largest categories of expense are for compensation and utilities. Next slide, please. The reserve balances on January 31st, 2018 were about $28.7 million. To date, contributions to reserves, including assessments and interest earnings, total about $1.1 million. And expenditures to date total just about $500,000. Okay, if you can take off the slide, please. We, as a board, review delinquencies quite often for unpaid assessments. And right now, that total is $313,696, which represents a little less than 1% of our annual budget. The board has been working closely with our collection firm and legal counsels to pursue further collection action or for unpaid accounts. We also reviewed discrepancies for fines, fees, and chargeable services totaling $174,000. The board is pursuing further collective action on activities such as cable TV disconnection and small claims that we take through the legal process. If anyone has noticed our financials for January, you might have known and discovered that in the utilities area, there were some discrepancies. We have investigated this, and corrections are being made on the accruals process. So that is being straightened out on water, electricity, trash, and those areas. So those will be updated for February and March timeframe. On to our resale report. We got good news to report on this. Let me jump over to it here. For Third Mutual, in February, we had 28 sales. Last year, it was also 28 sales. Sales volume is up from last year from $9.8 million to $12.3 million. The average price per unit has gone up from last year, $353,000 to $440,000, which is an increase of 7.8%. In our area of leasing, we are sitting right now at 27.1%, and we are tracking leases, new leases, renewals, and extensions quite significantly, and you'll find that in your package report.
Is there anything else? You gonna-
Just a couple other things here. We talked about average resale price per unit. I think that's a strong indicator that we are on the upswing. January was down considerably, and we knew that that was pervasive throughout all of Southern California. We're now back on track compared to last year, and we're looking very strong.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Sometimes I hear that we don't have a lot of homes on the market. Is that, is there any truth to that?
Yes.
Okay. and-
Our inventory is quite low compared to prior years. In prior years, they thought that it was good if you had over 200 on the market. We have nowhere close to that on the market right now.
Do you know how many are on the market?
I haven't checked this month. Last month, we had in the neighborhood of like 60 that were out there. So things are strong, things are selling. So I don't see any decrease coming in the future, as well as real estate people that I've talked to.
Okay, good. So, and are you going to, is the budget calendar, which I saw, does that get included in the, how is that distributed to? I know the board members have it, but when do the residents find out about it? Because a lot of the meetings are open, correct?
From what I'm being told, that's actually on the web, but also at the Garden Villa building captain's meeting yesterday, I actually handed it out, one to each person, and we actually went through it in detail. So they know when the meetings are, when they need to come to committee meetings, if they want to interject things, which they do have two things I know, they want to bring up to M&C, so they'll be at the next M&C meeting.
So even though
Energy,
it's.
they have your meetings, and
Right.
finance.
Even though it's on the web, could we include the budget calendar in our packet for next month, Cheryl? Could we do that?
Yes.
Yeah, just so that it's just there, yes, Bert, do you have a question?
Will the audit have been completed?
No, the audit isn't
Not
complete yet.
yet. They generally look for that to be finalized during April, and final adjustments to be made in April. There'll be a special report that's given on that, and an
And there's
outbrief.
usually a meeting with that,
And
an
an
open
outbrief,
meeting, yeah.
yeah.
But the budget things, I think it's really important, to have the residents more aware of what goes into the budget meetings, and they are all open meetings. I mean, they're not closed, so I think that would be a great thing. Okay, and then, also to go along with what Bert's saying, to let us know when the
Sure.
audit report will be done, that would be a great thing
Yeah, that'll
also.
be announced, yeah.
Well,
The other thing is, people tend to shy away from attending budget meetings and things. They think it's too complex. It's really not. You take it step by step, and it's a building block process. And you'll see from one meeting to the next how things fits together like a puzzle.
Right.
And behind these meetings are things going on, such as one board talking to another, presidents talking to presidents, looking at assessments, because everything is going to come down to the assessments. And also the final book publishing in November.
Okay, all right, so now thank you very much, Steve, great job, as always. Now we have the report of the Architectural Control and Standards Committee.
And even though it says Bill Walsh, I'm going to defer to Steve. And I'll just make the comment, Steve, I think we covered everything that came out of the.
Quite a bit.
With architectural control between the consent calendar and all the resolutions. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just mention three things here, but one thing was that Bill was sick, and he was in his bed, and sent me a note, said, can you chair this? And
He
but
didn't ask me to do it.
I wonder why. Scratch that remark.
You were too busy.
I was busy.
But what Bill did was he gave me a list of topics that he wanted discussed, and we did that at the beginning of the meeting. And I think those items had impacts on the other things that we talked about during the meeting. So, Bill, we missed you a lot. And one thing that was really significant was that we had a gallery of people who came. A lot of them were the first time. And the whole complexion of the meeting was changed because of the expertise of these people in our gallery. And it was so much so that Rosemary even, right during the meeting, sent a note to Bill saying, hey, this person over here was an architect. He's got great background. Consider him as an advisor for your committee. And other people there also. It was just so neat to see the interaction and the synergy that took place during that meeting. But onward, let me just touch on 3 things here, and the rest of the things we've actually covered. One thing was on satellite dishes. It was standards 5A, 5B, and 5C. And I'll just read some of the comments. The committee requested the staff review what the third board discussed regarding allocation of these different items on the roof. Staff will also check Davis Sterling on this topic and report findings at the next committee meeting. Another thing was exterior wall attachments. Staff was requested to revise the verbiage in 2.5, and they will do that. The committee directed staff to make a recommendation to the M&C committee to create a policy in the paint program stating that after paint, residents may not reinstall wall hangings which don't comply with the standard. So that's being looked at, and verbiage will be revised and brought through once again to the M&C committee. The last thing I'll mention is on garage doors and to discuss next step. After discussion, we decided to look at that more in depth, and President De Lorenzo will confer with legal counsel regarding garage door requirements, and further research will be coming through on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve, for chairing that, and I did reach out to the gentleman you referred me to, and he sounds like he's on board, so we hopefully
excellent
will
guy.
see him on Monday. Thank you.
Oh, good. Hey, I'm surprised he didn't give me a fake name. Okay, so the next report is the report of,
I've had several people over the past month approach me and ask for, they're not getting the information that they feel they need in order to be able to put solar on their roofs. They're being sensitive. I'm just wondering if you would put that on your next month's agenda and how we can get that information to people. And apparently staff is misinforming them.
Okay,
somehow.
because I just signed something for use of common area to put that solar on.
Yeah.
So I know at least one got through. I know we talked to a couple of people that are really interested.
Yeah.
But what kind of misinformation are they getting, or not lack of information?
Well, it's dragging out. They can't seem to find out the information that they need to want to proceed.
Okay, so I think maybe I'll go upstairs or I'll go talk to Kurt and see if we can get that put on the agenda for Monday.
Would appreciate that.
Yeah, okay, Bert.
so if anyone wants to install solar and they're having any challenges, they should contact Bert? No, I'm kidding.
Contact me.
Bill.
I've got a little bit of an email that I can send them. Most people that contact me want some references, not references in the sense of saying these are good people, but they want some names of solar companies that they can contact to get bids for. I do not recommend anybody.
Right, yes.
But,
Well,
I mean,
that's
that's
why-
just standard operating procedure. But,
Right.
you know, but I do give them names of people who have used these different companies within the community. And just to reiterate, not to drag this out, but basically, we only allow right now people to have outright purchases of solar panels or a prepaid lease. Those are the only 2 ways. We do not want to get in the middle of solar panels between a vendor and the board. So,
Right. Okay.
thanks.
Right,
So the
second.
next thing is the report of the Maintenance and Construction Committee, and the correct minutes have been distributed.
To the board, anyway. Let me get into here. Got to get the right report. I'm looking at February. Okay.
That was a test.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things that keep on coming up is requests from people on the red curb removal. They're appealing our removal of the red curb because they can't seem to feel they can get out of their garages. So we're dealing with appeals. And there are issues that I agree with. Sometimes you find a truck that would be parked opposite of where they park their car in a space. And I think we really have to relook at that situation with the parking committee. Perhaps what we're going to do is maybe mark the area along the curbs there for parking of golf carts, something that's not as wide and allowing more room. But I think this is an area that has to be investigated. It's going to continue to haunt us. I love the idea of the buses being able to call up and then have an Uber-like service, and I do think that is a very positive solution that we could have for the future on our parking problems. So it continues to haunt us and will continue to haunt us because this community was basically designed over 50 years ago, and people didn't have the number of cars nor the size of the cars that they have today. Okay. We did discuss the resident reimbursement policy, which we discussed today. And that we're going to continue with. We did indicate that there is indeed chargeable services available for people who have to install low-flow toilets or replace their water heaters. In fact, I availed myself of a replacement of a water heater not too long ago. It was relatively reasonably priced. I don't think I could have gotten the price any better with an outside plumber. And the service, the people that did install it within this community were really, I mean, they know this system. They know the units. They know how to go about it. They were very efficient. So I would highly recommend to people in the community, if you're going to replace your hot water heaters, avail yourself of our service. I think you couldn't do better. Plus the fact the fact that if anything does go wrong, you can come back and you're going to be satisfied by the community. I don't know if you go to an outside contractor, how successful you'd be in having them come back in and undo something that they've done wrong. We talked about the unbudgeted expenditure for the fumigation program, which is still unresolved. We did discuss coin-operated commercial dryer replacements. One of the things that did come up is the way in which we would want to continue to charge. We know, for instance, that the power companies are going to switch over to time of use from basically what is now noon to 6 p.m. Next year, it will be from 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock at night, which is generally a lot of the time where people, in the evening, people who work come home and want to do their laundry. So it is a much, much higher charge for electricity with time of use in the evening. So we can expect to see increases in our electrical charges. And we are looking at the programmable timer cam as a possibility of varying the charge for dryers based upon the time of use that people do their laundry. Yes.
Not to contradict you, but I think when we discussed it in the Energy Committee that all of our three-story buildings and their dryers are commercial.
Yes.
And
no, they're not commercial right now.
The
dryers currently are residential.
No, not the dryers themselves. The charges by SCE are on a GS1 commercial rate.
Commercial rate.
And I'm not sure what they're going to do with that. What you're referring to is the changes in time of use are going to be for our residential customer. Everybody in all of our manners, when we're really going to be affected by that.
Yeah. Okay. We're also currently in the process of going to put in a address signage pilot program. The signs are on order, and I will be going out perhaps within the next week with staff to locate where these signs are going to be put. And we'll leave them there and see if we can get comments from people. It is an approach that we're taking which is different from what we have done in the past. In the past, essentially, we were putting most of our addresses on buildings, and we feel that what we really need is a better signage approach allowing people who are in cars or along a walkway to see the address without being on a building, but rather on a post out in front of the building, but it'll be reflective. At nighttime, we're hopeful that we will align them in such a way that car headlights will light them up and make it easier to locate buildings. There was discussion on fireplaces and the concern that for people that are using their fireplaces, how effective their spark arresters are. First of all, are there spark arresters on the stacks because of concern for fire? And we will, I think, in the future be establishing an inspection program for staff to go out and take a look at the fireplaces to make sure that the spark arresters are in place, and if not, to be sure that there is one that will be put in place. And the other thing is there are programs, I believe, that are in place by the city and by the county, which have to do with fire arresters and, in fact, with the use of fireplaces and burning wood.
I think Brad is supposed to bring us back a report on that.
Yeah,
It's on the closed session.
yeah.
Okay.
So we will be looking into that. And that basically is the report. We did, in our closed session, approve a contract for repairing the trash chutes, which we had discussed. And the next meeting of M&C will be Monday, April the 2nd, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it'll be in the boardroom.
Okay, thank you.
One other item that's on the front burner for M&C is the dry rot circumstance. And they will not have their report for the 2nd of April, but they will by the middle of next month. And so there will probably be a special M&C meeting so that they can report back to us.
Yep.
Which is obviously critical so they can then move on.
Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you,
I talked to
John.
Ernesto about that.
Okay, John, as long as you're there or here, did you have anything to report on the parking and golf cart task force?
Yes, you all saw my memo about the upper wedding cake tier.
And has maintenance gone to look at that?
Yes, and Ernesto did, and he said, we can't meet the standard. The standard is too tight behind the community center building, and he wants 9 feet. So I went out and measured again this morning, and rather than getting 7 spots, we can get 3 with an 8-foot, 8-inch space and a 4-inch divider. And if 2 of those spots, if he could cut it back by 4 inches, we can get 2 more. So that's the most we're going to get, which does bring up a cost-benefit analysis. But Ernesto will be responding back.
So are we working to identify areas where there's the potential of making the parking spaces, especially in more difficult to park in areas, making the parking spaces the width that's required by law as opposed to wider? Are we working on anything with that?
I'm not sure if I understand your question.
Well, so you went up to the wedding cake area and you identified that we can get a few parking spaces, right?
Yes.
So do we have any other key areas that we're looking at?
Well, in my letter, I mentioned that down by Clubhouse 4, there's a lot of 3-story buildings. Parking's pretty tight. I'm not talking about parking in the parking lot.
Right. So, I mean, the basic thing is the committee should identify some other key areas.
We should ask staff to proceed and perhaps do an analysis of other areas. We haven't done that.
Well, I think maybe though, yeah, that's true, but I mean, if we know of any other areas other than the wedding cake area where they could be restriping, then do we have a process of notifying staff? Or should we notify you? Because I have 2 areas to look at, so what do we do?
I expect that there will be a parking task force committee meeting sometime in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, well, let us know because we
I'll
want to
put that
come.
on the agenda.
All right, excellent,
Yeah.
thank you.
Can I add to that? Your parking, after the M&C meeting last time, after the lady was very upset about the removal of the red curb, I got a hold of Brad and Tim Moy and about the issue, and I met Tim in the hallway later, and he said that they are going to step up patrols on these areas, and that he's very much contemplating getting a parking, what would you call it? A parking monitor to go around, literally. You could call it a meter maid or whatever you want to call it, but somebody to go around and start monitoring, particularly for contractors and people who are parking their vehicles in cul-de-sacs. So there may be some movement on that. I haven't heard anything back, but at least it's the severity of these issues is certainly being conveyed to security and compliance.
And on that note, you'll note we approved it on the consent calendar today to deny that woman.
Okay, so thank you very much, John. Just make sure you let us know what the date is of your committee meeting. All right.
Just one of the things that, if you're going to narrow the distance or the spacing between cars, we have an issue here with people who are handicapped. Okay, so and that's something that they're going to have to take into
Yeah,
consideration.
I mean, we're not, the thing is.
We don't have any
We're
handicap
not
spots.
going to go willy-nilly.
And as I said, 9 feet's the most he'll go.
Well, and the law is 8.5, but there are some that are 12.
Yeah, I'm just saying. that-
Those are the ones that we're going to look at. We're not going to go, I mean, we're not going to go through the expense to, but there's some that really are wide, very
no
wide.
argument.
And those are the ones that we have to say, is this a problem area? Yes. Do they have extremely wide spaces? Yes or no? And then try to do something with that. Otherwise, we're not going to touch it. But I looked it all up online and all the other stuff, so. Okay, all right. The Garden Villa Rec Room Subcommittee, we're just going to have a meeting on April 18th at 9 a.m. in the Sycamore Room. Okay. The Landscape Committee, Director Tung.
Yes, could I have first slides, please? Well, Landscape Committee have been working second slides, very hard since the last board strategic meeting. So we sort of set up a long-term plan, goal, and short-term goal. Of course, a long-term goal I'm listing here is improve the poor slopes. We toured our community. We found there are some slopes are very nice, very good, but some of the slopes are very nice, but are not drought resistant. They cost a lot of water. So in the future, when we improve our slopes, we try to plant more drought resistant plants. So, but the main thing is we got to improve several poor slopes in the long run, but also in short term. The second part is we will modernize some of the planting to also drought resistant. That will take staff long time to measure how many areas, so that's why we call long-term, and according to the cost, we'll wrenching out each year and propose the budget. And third, of course, is for saving water by the turf reduction. Again, that's we have to count out how many areas, what the size, and then wrenching out throughout the years. The next slide, so for the short term, essentially is this year, since we do have a $250,000 set aside, what we have more or less, the staff is working on the detail right now, but right now the top priority is to improve the slope of Gate 9 entrance area, Gate 9 entrance.
A few years ago, they had a massive program there where they replanted the whole area near Gate 9.
Well,
slopes.
right now, we're only working select the corner of Gate 9 at the near Gate and Gate 9 gate, because there were barren, it's obvious, terrible looking, And those are obvious in front, near the gate. So the impact is tremendous, and they look terrible. And that's the top priority. We're going to improve that part.
Can I ask you, there are some slopes
Uh-huh.
that are the responsibility and the budget of GRF, and there are some that are third. Do you
Well-
know? No, because like, for example, when you ride into gate 14, the slope on the right-hand side is GRF.
Right. We know
So
that.
just, so we should, if we identify a slope, make sure that it's, you know, that if it's GRF, we'll go to GRF and say, could you fix the slope? It doesn't look good.
Well, the entrance of the gate 14, that is GRFs. And they were terrible, say, 6 months ago, but now they are ready. The landscape from the money come out from GRF to improve. Therefore, the looking is much, better than before. So we're not gonna touch that.
So the other gate, the other slope, is that ours or GRF?
Yes, it's ours.
Oh, okay.
Inside your gate 14.
No, no,
Or-
I'm not talking about gate 14. What is it,
No, no.
gate 9? Is that ours?
First top priority is gate 9,
Okay.
around the gate 9 area, the two corner slopes that is bearing, it looks terrible. We're gonna work on that first. And then gate 11, because this project already started for the turf reduction, the turf is being killed. So now we're gonna plan a little bit to make it better looking. And then, of course, there are a few spots within your gate 14, not at entrance. So we're going to improve that. And then we're going to also improve some of the slopes around the Punta Alta area near Gate Clubhouse 5. And also, staff is working on the exact amount of money involved. If we have money left, we'll also work on the cul-de-sac 212 and for the turf reduction. But because of that is already recycled water area, that's why we put a little bit lower priority. But we have not make a finalized. Staff will work on the detail, and the committee will vote through for finalize this short-term plan. That's it for the landscape.
Okay, thank you, James. Well, we are getting some better comments, and not every letter in the newspaper is a complaint about
Yes, I
landscapes,
almost
so that's-
forgot to see this past week's Globe have 2 articles, praise the landscape. So that's a changing of tunes from the past. We
So,
are.
let's keep
and
working
and
on it.
thank for our Bruce is doing excellent job. Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing is the traffic hearings. Director Frankel?
There were 38 violations. 32 were found guilty. The preponderance of them were speeding and stop sign, 11 of which were speeding, and 9 were stop sign. They were, of course, all found guilty because it's on video. And
What is the speed limit in the community?
25.
Well, 15 in the cul-de-sac.
Yes. And the tickets are issued at 36 and above, not less than, they're not violations at less than 36. Why that is, I can't say, but that's the way they do business.
Okay.
Other than that.
Thank you, John. Report of the Communications Committee. And you did have an excellent meeting.
We did, but it was just a couple of days ago before this meeting, so there's no report on it as yet. But we met with Eileen Paulin, who is our new communication director, and we had a very extensive discussion about what we want to do in communication, how we can improve it, and she was really on board. I think she's going to do a really good job for us. She recognizes the problems that we have. So we went down the line of the various ways we are communicating with our residents now, and our goal is to make it as good as possible. So I'm very encouraged by that. And I just want to add, because we've been talking about who to call during this meeting, but we never gave the phone numbers. I would like to give the phone numbers again. Resident Services is 597-4600. Security is 580-1400. And compliance would be 268-CALL. I don't even know if we're still on TV, so it may not go out there. Yes, sir.
Up in the boardroom, well, in the room upstairs, Resident Services has put out a card thing. There's about 150 or 200 cards. They encourage us to take some with us, so we have something to pass out when a resident
Good
has,
idea.
has,
It's a good
has
idea.
issues. So I got a bunch for me.
And they also can go online to communicate. Yes, Bert?
Yeah, the package that we give to new residents includes a sheet. It has all of the telephone numbers.
Right.
And I think perhaps what we should consider doing is just make up a whole bunch of those and put them at the reception desk for people that would like to have them and can put them up on somewhere within their unit near a telephone.
That's a good suggestion. We want to go through all the handouts that people get here and make sure that they're orderly, consistent, and people are getting the right information and know where to go to get it. I would assume that should be at the front desk, but I don't know for sure.
Not there.
Okay.
You know, it's really interesting because we worked on that phone number sheet with Heather when we were
Right.
first working together. And, you know, and trying to have it be as comprehensive as possible. So if anybody sees any way that we can improve it, you should let us know.
I think new residents do get it.
It's in there, it's in their packet.
That was one of our top priorities.
But our problem is that over time, it changes.
Well, we.
You're right.
We did it and it took a lot of time to get it as accurate as possible. So if there are any corrections, we should make it. But we did put that in the new, well, it was in the new resident package. Okay.
Our next meeting is May 9th. It's on a Wednesday at 1:30.
It says 9:30 on here.
I know, it's wrong.
All right. Okay, report of the Energy and Technology Committee. That is Director Walsh. Were you there for that one?
I was, at least in body. I think several important things came out of the meeting. Staff has released some RFPs to get an energy consultant into the community, and they've received proposals back, and they're going to be calling an interview session to have these consultants interviewed, and so we can make a decision on which consultant would meet our needs. And in the meantime, we're going to be getting probably prepared for that interview. We're probably going to be listing all of the needs of the community and to see how these folks would approach helping us solve some of our infrastructure problems with energy. Ernesto also said that, and it's something that we're trying to do with the committee, the Third Mutual Energy Committee is the only energy committee in the community now. There used to be an energy committee in GRF, and there used to be one in United, and they stopped having those committees. And so from staff point of view, they would really rather deal in one place at one time with all of the energy issues in the community. And also, there's a lot of transfer of information at those meetings. And so we're trying to develop a process to make sure that all boards have representation on the committee and that they can bring their energy issues forward, so we all get a larger picture of what each of the boards is dealing with in their respective communities. And so we're hoping that starts to bear fruit as we go along. One of the things that's still ongoing that's a little frustrating, we have a pilot for the walkway lights in gates 5 and 6, and we've gotten some additional fixtures to look at, and the LED light itself is not the issue. It's becoming pretty apparent to us, even though we had them raise the light stanchion up another foot. It's the fixture on top that we've got issues. So we've got our work cut out for us. We're going to have to do some more investigation on that.
As you saw from my note last night, this is taking too.
I tried to.
Ignore me?
I tried to, I needed a good night's sleep. I didn't want to respond to the complaint.
No, I mean, it's like, I can't believe that it is so long, and then we were gonna go ahead and just do it. And the thing is if it is amazing to me that it is such a desperate need, and we would be given such an inferior fixture that doesn't do diddly.
Well, one of the problems I found out was when I went out, and I was out the other night again.
Well, good.
The new fixture that they raised and supposedly put LED in, I found out was only 4 watts.
Oh, my goodness.
You're
Well, good for
giving
you,
me a
Bert,
headache.
but
That
wow.
was-
Whoa. Oh, I'm glad you found that out.
Yeah.
You think
So this, I don't know what's happening in terms of, controlling these people that are putting it in.
Well,
We're
you know,
just-
U.S. Energy,
I mean, oh, God.
yeah, I don't know what's going on there, too.
Yeah.
We'll get together with Ernesto and see if we can't
I
work
mean, it
something out here.
seems impossible that
Okay.
that is after so many meetings and such a desperate need, and we say, okay, we have the money, we have to do this, let's just do it, then we have to get a bid, and that is,
I mean, Bill and I have been out there, how many nights, Bill? Time of change
Never
takes
mind.
place.
Well, I've been out there too, and it's my neighborhood. And I don't understand what the problem is. It's very, very clear that the Bullard light with the bulb that's in it is fantastic. I mean, it lights up both sides of the sidewalk. And it's been sitting there for months, and nothing's happened. So they keep fiddling around with these other fixtures that don't light anything. As a matter of fact, they're darker than existing fixtures.
That's right. So we have to make a decision, Roy.
Yes.
Well, the decision's pretty clear. You only got 2 choices, and I know
No.
which one I'm going to vote for.
Well, we're the kind of people that are looking for more choices. Give us 2 choices is not enough.
especially if
It's enough
they're,
for me,
if
Bill.
they're not good choices.
Yeah. We want to look a little further, a little deeper. We may come right back to that fixture, Roy. and
I
maybe-
don't think so. I mean, I just put LED lights in by myself into the little entry thing, when you walk in, and they're good for 13 years. But, I mean, it's like so bright.
Big difference.
So, I mean, and.
Did you get the right Kelvin?
Yes,
Kelvin,
I'm
good.
sure.
I do
Okay.
think we have concluded, by the way, that the 3 foot is a good height for that fixture.
With the right light on it.
With the right light on
With the
it.
right light on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like a bad light on it. was-
Okay.
All right.
And speaking of lighting, just to reiterate, everybody knows that we have signed a contract with Siemens, and that they're going to guide us through the process of acquiring
The streetlights.
the streetlights. It's 788 of them in Third. And basically, we haven't heard anything, but I expect that, I'm hoping by the middle of the year that Edison comes to us with some direction, because they're ready to turn it over to us. So we'll see what happens.
We think.
No, I don't think. On that score, I'm hope. It's a hope.
Yeah, hope, okay, hope, okay.
Bill, I think you know what I'm going to say. Just want to remind you that Gate 6, the streetlights are not included in your nice lighting program, and they're still owned by the city, and we really need light at Gate 6.
Well, what may come of this, Susie, is that when we get done with putting those LED lights in, when Siemens does that, because they're going to give us, they have real knowledge, because they do this for municipalities all over the state. They're going to give us the best lighting possible. At that point, we can take pictures or invite the city council out to look at those fixtures, and then go back and point out that those lights that are owned by the city, we would really love to have them changed too. Because we're going to do we're going to pay for all the research and everything else. all the city's gonna have to do is pay for changing the lights out. And I think we need to work on them. Okay?
Speaking of the city council, though, weren't we supposed to be reminding the residents to go to the city council meeting tomorrow?
Tomorrow? Yes.
Because of the homeless situation?
Yes.
So, and
Right.
when is that meeting? Does anyone know?
It's in the afternoon.
Afternoon,
Yeah.
2
like
o'clock.
2 o'clock? We better check it out. I mean, I've got it at home. I don't remember.
This-
It's a
we-
city council
we
meeting.
We discussed at our meeting, one of our meetings, that due to the security of the community, which is why we're spending all of the money on Shepherd's Crook, is to try to show up at City Hall and say, and we asked the residents to do that, reminding the city that we need, it's their city too, that we need their help in trying to take care of or come up with ways to make our community safer due to the homeless. So do we know what, it's at city, how could someone find out if they want to go? What would they do?
They just go.
They just go?
No, if they want to know the time, how would they find it?
President,
You can go
I
on
can,
the.
I can look it up on the internet, City of Laguna Woods.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna let the next person go, and then Cheryl is gonna interrupt us and tell us. Okay, good.
All right, well, before you get, I'll just go one other thing. Bert's on kind of a little crusade here. Edison really, with the help of the California Public Utilities Commission, really stuck it to us for the net metering aggregation meters. And Bert's collecting data, and we're going to be talking with our new communications and marketing staff and about writing a letter
I want you to know,
to our
I got-
representative, to our local supervisor, and find out why we're getting hit so hard with this.
I
So-
got numbers. They're hitting us basically with a charge for meters of $69,000. They are
Is that,
spending.
Bert, explain what that means. I mean,
Okay.
and not.
There's
real
always
big deal.
been a meter charge. In other words, for every meter that you have, there's a $5 basic charge for the meter every month.
Right.
Okay? And because they had an automated billing, okay, that was fine. And suddenly, with the virtual meter A tariff, which is what we have for solar, where we basically aggregate meters, they came back and said, well, we're doing that by manual means right now. And they said, we have to automate that, and it's going to cost us $650,000. I did some research, and I found out, when you go into the numbers, that $325,000 of the $650,000 basically is what is costing to do the manual, or convert the manual to automated billing for the virtual network aggregated meters. The rest basically is toward rewriting the entire program. So really, attributable to us would be, or anybody that's done virtual network metering, okay, is going to have to provide the money to cover the $325,000. Okay, well, if we're paying $69,000 of that, that says this one location, Laguna Woods, Third Mutual, is paying 21% of the total cost of that development. I further checked, and they estimate that the number of accounts that they would have that are using virtual network metering, A, are 8,800 accounts. So here we are, one account paying 21%.
Right. Does this include Third, or we're just talking?
This is Third,
United-
just Third.
Not even United?
Not even United.
Boy. Anyway, good. We'll
Okay.
talk more about that. That's all I have. Thank you very
All
much.
right, so now we have.
President DiLorenzo?
Yes.
Up on your screen, I have the city council schedule.
So it's.
It is 2 p.m.
It is 2 p.m. at City Hall?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we encourage our residents to go to the city council meeting at City Hall.
And if you can speak.
Right.
Okay, fill out a form, go up to the desk there, and you could speak and talk in terms of the safety of our community, particularly those people that are living in Gate 5 and 6, because there's where the problem lies.
Okay, thank you. So remember, we have to try to get this finished. So report of the Water Subcommittee, Director Tung.
Yes, yes. Second slides, please. Next one. Yes, well, you may not be able to see it. Oh, you can see it. Well, my point is at the bottom of two lines, this is January 18, that's the latest water bill. The point to make here is, one is, the bottom one is the residential area only, but then the line above it is the total. Well, you can see the two are identical. What that means is there's no higher tier water from irrigation. Irrigation fixed all the leaks and they didn't water too much water, so that's the point I want to make. And then they finally, because the last year, well, as later I'll show you, a lot of water being used, a lot of leaks were happening, but now they fixed all this. So next one, since we only have a tier 3, tier 4 from the residential side, let's look at the residential bill. Next slides, please. Okay, well, this one says, this is a tier 3 on the rightmost two lines, tier 3, tier 4, top usage of the water from the water meter from those buildings. Now, the top one, 4021, that's has to be fixed in early February. So, but still, that's why it still shows up in January. 5175, that's this resident has compliance issues, and compliance department is working on with this resident to try to solve problem. Plumbing department is working on 5365, 5346. And they have fixed the 4004. And then they're looking into the building 3005 and 4204. They're investigating those two. So that's what I want to report on the residential side.
What is happening with 4021? I'm sorry.
4021 already being fixed.
And what was it?
It was ender slab leaking. So that's why it's such a high tier 4 unit. But it's we found late January and we reported at the beginning of February, and the staff already fixed. So when the February bill comes, that should disappear.
We have the February bill, don't we?
Don't. The bill comes very much late. Yeah. In fact, the February bill will come in late March.
So the
That's
water,
why the
so
financial, every month they have to accrue the numbers. We'll talk about in financial meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay, got it.
Yeah. Okay, well, next one, slides. See, this is what shows is the water usage by the residential part throughout the past 4 years.
So the one that says February, what number is that if we don't have the February bill? There's a line for February.
Well, so
that-
everything you see here from those finance department is 1 month behind.
Got it.
In other words, January really reflecting
December.
December the previous years.
Got it.
Okay, so now the point to make on this slide, you can see from January to December, the residential usage of water is more or less flat. In other words, people are not going to drink more water or in the summertime or wintertime. However, one point I want to make on this slide is if you look at the year 2015, which shows the blue color, that you can see there's a few stick bars higher than others. That is because the year we came onto the board, there were then a lot of old toilet leaking. Of course, it's not that obvious because those are in water units, not in dollar bill. If those higher in change to dollar bill, that's much, much terrible because of the tier 3, tier 4 water bill. So that's the point I want to make this one. Next one. Now, this is the irrigation. Well, first thing you can see, they always using more water throughout the full 4 years in the months of June, July, August, September. Now, again, there's a few bars are really high. The first one is actually January 2018, but again, that reflect the December last year. Well, you will remember, last December was very, very dry. That's why the landscape of watering more to come, well, to save our plants. But as 1 month later, so it shows up in January. And then because of a previous drought year, couple years, so once the last year, May, the Altura Water says, well, drought is gone. So everything back to the 100%. But so our landscape will have to re-water, overwatering to save our plant, to make it looking better. That's why you can see this green high bar in September, which means August. So in other words, it's July, August, September, and in fact, June were high water usage. But I want to show this to Bruce in your landscape so that, hey, watch out, because not only there were higher usage, but there were a lot of leaking. If you pay attention to my water bill. So now they fixed. That's the good work from the landscape. So thank you very much. And this year, because of the rain of this week, we are hoping that we're not going to get into the drought year again. So we won't have a very terrible water bill.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you very much, James. Report of the Resident Policy and Compliance Task Force. Doctor, I can always call you Dr. Baum, Director.
Thank you, I'm your friendly credit dentist. We did not meet, but we will probably meet this month.
Okay, so the next section of the meeting, because we're way behind, is GRF committee highlights. Please only report if there was something incredible or of extremely newsworthy at this time. So community, CAC, anything?
Yes, actually, there was a lot to report on. I will, make it as concise as possible. But anyone attending that meeting, had we videotaped it and edited it, it would have really been a highlight film promoting the phenomenal activities in Laguna Woods Village. Just as an example, some of the entertainment shows. Pat Boone actually showed up, and he is alive and well and living in Beverly Hills, and it was a sold-out show. The Willie Nelson tribute show, the second year in a row, was a complete sellout. There's always a sellout in the community concert series, and this past Sunday was an absolutely remarkable performance by a world-class Jasper String Quartet. It was one of the great concerts I've ever attended. It was just remarkable. They are now taking renewal subscriptions for next year's community concerts. I urge anyone that is interested in classical music to by the end of June, there'll be an open sign-up period. Right now, you can only sign up if you have a subscription. Lucky people that have a subscription. The new garden center has been substantially gussied up. There is no longer a waiting list at the garden center. The golf activities, there's too many activities to mention. The Easter events will take place on Easter, beginning on March 31st, with the at the Equestrian Center. There'll be an Easter buffet at Clubhouse 5. The Village Bazaar will again be at Clubhouse 5. The Village Games returns to the spring calendar. There'll now be a 5K run. There's new classes there. There will be a, let me see what else. Yes, an old friend, the Bluebird boxes. This is clearly a subject which does not involve the Bluebird of happiness. What happened was that the Western Bluebird Club of Laguna Woods was designated as the sole authority to remove and rehang new Bluebird boxes. It was forwarded to the GRF committee, which promptly bounced it back to the Community Activities Committee, which reaffirmed the staff report and sent it back over the net to GRF. Danny Henson, the father of the Western Bluebird Club, sent over a white paper on behalf of what he's doing with bluebirds, and we probably should invite him to address us because it is a subject that is of interest to all the mutuals. particularly Third.
Bluebirds for Third, Bluebird boxes for Third are on the closed agenda
Yes.
for later today.
Yes.
The decision for Bluebird boxes that was made at the CAC meeting applies to GRF only.
It does, but that is not the end. That is not the end of the ambition of the Western.
That applies to GRF only, and we have it on our closed
Yes.
agenda to discuss
Yeah.
today, as I don't know if United has discussed it at their closed meeting. I haven't heard.
I don't know if United has done that. The final item is the staff rescinded the requirement that all officers on all clubs must be residents. The problem with that is that if GRF maintained that rule, a number of clubs would probably go out of business. So they changed they have recommended only requiring that one of the officers be a resident, and we've sent that back to GRF. The next meeting is on May 10th, not May 8th. And just one other item I bring to everyone's attention. There is a group of people that are looking to develop a performing arts center at Anaheim that would actually dwarf Lincoln Center in New York City. It's absolutely remarkable, and it just adds to if it comes to fruition and it's moving forward, if it comes to fruition, it will result in this area probably having more culture than almost any area in the country, maybe even in the world. It's quite remarkable. And that is the end of my abbreviated report.
Thank you, Jules. Finance Committee, GRF?
Okay, the last meeting was held on February 28th. Nothing real significant other than they are starting to go into long-range planning for GRF. So we gave some updates there. The treasurers from the three boards are having a meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock to discuss common areas of interest. And the next meeting for the Finance Committee is the April 18th at 1:30 in the boardroom.
Thank you, Steve. M&C?
GRF is in the process of evaluating the structural integrity of the clubhouses that we have. They're looking into dry rot, mold, and so on. It's holding up some of the work that they had planned in beautifying and fixing up these clubhouses. We want to determine just how sound are these clubhouses structural. In particular, Clubhouse 1 is really the major issue. Question is whether or not we're going to go ahead and try to do something to fix up that clubhouse or basically replace it. That's a lesson we learned with Clubhouse 2.
Wasn't there a consultant that?
Well, that's right. There's a consultant that's going around evaluating each of
So
these.
it's not finished yet?
No, I haven't seen any report yet. Clubhouse 2 extension is another issue also. They're looking into the structural integrity of those buildings. They basically decided that the park area that's there, they'll go ahead and plan on finishing that development. There was some discussion about whether or not they would extend that. They have found that there is a lot of dry rot, not only in the extension buildings, but in the showers as well. So there's some real question as to what they're going to do with that. That's in pretty bad shape. And HVAC, they are installing new HVAC systems on this building and intend to do so on Clubhouse 3, which is the Performing Arts Center. So that's going ahead and proposing to also, when you do the air conditioning, doing EMS. So that's about it.
And EMS means?
Energy Management System.
One further comment, Pickle is finalized, but the M&C has not been presented the final construction, the concept design.
Okay, so meeting communications, Bert, anything?
Can I interject before Bert starts?
No.
Want to arm wrestle for that, Bert? Friday, overlapping our special open meeting on Friday. John Frankel and I have to attend the Performing Arts Center ad hoc committee meeting at the same time. So this is the first meeting they've had in 4 or 5.
Yeah, but, well, first of all, they should check the calendars. That's number one.
Well, they scheduled this before we scheduled our special.
Well,
and
then
like-
we should have checked the calendars.
Yeah.
The thing is our committee is really just to approve a lot of the 30 days, so.
We will tell them, we'll maybe come down here and tell them we'll be back in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever we're going to do.
So, Madam Chairman, make sure that you get a quorum without Bill and I.
Well, maybe one of you will have to stay behind.
Well, who else won't be here?
Me, I won't be here. I had a tax appointment and I can't change it.
Yeah, I have a problem. I have an 8 o'clock appointment. I'll try and be there at 9:30, but.
So we have 1,
We'll have 7.
2, 3, 4.
We'll give our board first priority on this.
I'll be there at 9:30 if I possibly can.
Well, the thing is we have to know now, so the thing is one of you might have to stay at our meeting, and it's not like we have to do these 30-day things, so we just have to be, okay, all right, so,
I was going to talk about GRF communication. Actually, Brad covered the main point, and that's the plan to expand the bandwidth by deleting essentially the analog channels. And the whole TV is an issue in terms of our contracts. The next one is going to be with NBC, and that's probably going to require an increase too. So what we're looking forward to in the future is increased costs for all these TV networks, et cetera, and we're going to have to make a decision on that, what we want to do. That's my comment.
okay, thank you. The next is the Mobility and Vehicles Committee. Any report? Okay, Security and Community Access, any report, Board?
Yes, I have 3 things that are of interest to this particular board. First of all, the golf cart resolution passed the Security and Community Access Committee, was passed along to GRF, and as I understand it, because I did watch some of that board meeting, I think it's on their 30-day calendar. I believe that United has done the same thing. So implementation for early 2019, but that thing is moving forward. The second thing is non-return of ID cards. This was an issue that we brought forward to the Security Committee, and they agreed with us. They are going to make sure that the fine for non-return of ID cards and non-return of stickers is the same at $125. And the third thing that they passed, and they passed that along to GRF, and I believe GRF put that on 30-day, Bill, there's no reason for us to talk about this afternoon in the closed session because it's already moved forward. The same thing for lessees. We suggested, their chairman suggested that we require, and when I say we, I mean GRF, because these are, stickers are all their business. They're going to require a deposit for renters of $250, which covers the sticker and the ID card when they sign the lease. And that has gone forward to the GRF board and presumably, if I remember correctly, again, put on the 30-day. So we done good. I also want to report on the Disaster Recovery Task Force. They announced, and I want to announce again here, that the Senior Summit, which is where all of us seniors get together, is going to be in Clubhouse 3 on April 20th at 8:30 a.m., which is an ungodly hour. DR, that is to say disaster recovery, is the focus of that meeting. So I think it's important if anybody's interested in disaster recovery that they try to attend that. I will try to suck it up and get up early enough to go to an 8:30 meeting. And that the next meeting of the Disaster Recovery Task Force is March 27th in the Cypress Room at 9:30 a.m. That concludes my report.
Why does this say it's April 24th?
What says?
The GRF committee highlights this, Disaster Preparedness Task Force. National
I'm talking about the Senior Summit,
And that is when?
April 20th at 8:30 a.m.
And I think the reason that it's early is if it's still sponsored by the county, they give you breakfast. They used to give you breakfast and a lunch.
In that case, I'll get up.
And they got a big turnout. I don't know if they're still doing that.
Okay, all right, so we don't have to go over future agenda items because they're there so that we don't forget. So it is time now for director comments. Any comments? I'll start with you, Bunny.
Nope,
No, thank you. Nope.
I'm hungry.
I guess everyone is hungry.
Yep.
Okay, at this time, this meeting will be recessed. And it will be